All right, guys, welcome in, welcome in. We are live another Friday night. Happy Halloween. If you've got an earbud in while you're on trick-or-treat duties and you're listening to this, I mean, we'd really appreciate it, of course. Shout out to the real ones out there. But we are gonna, I guess, we're gonna have the duties of sitting here watching the NBA hoops and the rest of the stuff. And I guess I hate to start this off on such a negative note. There's so much positivity in there, especially if you see the teams we have associated here on the couch. Like, you're like, oh man, definitely a little better than we thought. But it is what it is. There is a Cavs game on in the background, so maybe you know where we're going with this. We've complained about this before, but if you guys are maybe not as of a degenerate of a NBA fan as we are, tapped into the local broadcast the same way, then maybe you guys aren't aware. But the Cleveland Cavaliers home broadcast, they have this thing on the score graphic called the diff, and they basically just tell you what Cleveland is, what the difference in the score is for the Cavs compared to the other teams. So if it's 25-20 Cleveland, they'll just have over the Cleveland part of the scoreboard +5, the diff of the game. I guess maybe it's like a way to sort of help track the line for the game, but it is, and I guess again we've been like, oh, what is this? But I think we got to take the stance, and again, we hate to be so aggressive on a holiday, hey yo. But I think it might be well, I guess, the worst thing in sports. Hey, I'm sure we could, dig a little deeper. But, it might be, if we're just going on the surface level, like if we ranked all the fun elements of sports, it might be the worst fun element of sports. The diff on the score graphic for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's got to be the most disrespectful thing to any fan base in just any sport in general. Okay, everything is always like supporting the fans. They're the 12th man, they're the 6th man, they're part of the team, they're basically on the court with the players. The Cavs broadcast, like, these guys don't even know the score to the game. It is what it is. You gotta give the fans at least a little bit of credit. Like, we watch the games, I guess, if I'm struggling, maybe I'll just find a way to do the math. I don't know, maybe we're a little extra livid as well too, because there was a guy, we were taking a reservation at the restaurant the other day, and a guy told us how to spell enterprise. He was giving us the information for the reservation. He was like, oh, with enterprise, and he spelled out enterprise. And I was like, okay. I was like, I made him spell it again. I was like, can you spell enterprise again? And he was spelling it again. I was like, you got it down. I was like, I know how to spell enterprise, buddy. If I don't, I'll look it up. I know how to use Google at least. But I guess so. Maybe this guy's running the Cavs broadcast. I don't know. He's like, these people, they need to know what the difference in the score is. Hey, yo, because, and, I guess it's the combination of things, chat. Pause. Because the last time we had on a Cavs game and they had the diff up there, it was 0. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So all that being said, we got the Raptors broadcast on it. I guess I don't know if we'll be tuning into we heard it here, chat. We're boycotting the Cavs broadcast until they get rid of the diff. Hey, yo. I mean, and shout out, I do like the Cavs announcing team as well, too. I mean, they're... The LeBron Kyrie era was, of course, a much more successful, well, not much more, well, I guess from a playoff standpoint, obviously much more successful regular season. This Cavs team last year was obviously pretty good. Probably best in franchise history, I would guess, because I think LeBron did have a 60 win in there, but I think, just a couple more for that Cavs team last year. And again, obviously the ultimate playoff success was a little bit more, but, fun as well too. And even the Kyrie years before that, Kyrie was super fun. So point being, those announcers were in a lot of highlights back in those days, and still are, obviously, with Mitchell. I guess Mitchell is kind of the highlight guy. Like, shout out Garland and Mobley. They're obviously great players, and again, well respected NBA community, highly valued. Still, you think that their games even have more room to get better as players, all that stuff. But they're not necessarily, the most highlight heavy players. But Mitchell with the dunks, I mean, Mitchell is genuinely, again, one of the more highlight special players that we have. So he could be a highlight enough for a whole team. But, again, back in the day, you have LeBron, you have Kyrie. And I guess, Kyrie's doing a lot of heavy, not from the highlight standpoint. Again, hey, yo, LeBron's getting his highlights. But Kyrie is, like we're saying before that, definitely carry and pause the load at that point. But this Raptors team looking for a bounce back. And we should mention as well, too, it is the NBA Cup. Hey, yo, easy to remember because we got the NBA Cup courts. And I forgot they did the colorful courts for the tournament. But, hey, yo, We've got and I do got to say, the Cavs court this year, I don't know if it's a little bit different. I don't know if they've just taken a little bit of just like the pop out of the color, because it does work a little bit better. I don't know if I guess it is that kind of Cavs maroon color. And again, you just get these just crazy colored courts for the entire thing. For me personally, it's a little crazy. I don't mind necessarily, like a gray basketball court's pretty cool, but you start getting into the bright colors and just the contrast, everything, the jersey, all that stuff. It starts getting pretty crazy. But the Cavs one they do have right now, it feels a little more subtle. Hey yo, court corner. It is what it is. Court corner, that could be a different thing. Hey yo. There has been a lot of divorce court on over at the TVs at work as well too, because NFL season, NBA, the nice thing about NBA and MLB and stuff and them being on ESPN is if you get the game, obviously the games are on ESPN in these places, you just leave the TVs on, you don't change the channel, you just have the sports network going the whole time. But you get the NFL games or the college games on Saturdays as well too on the networks. And then you go into the week and I guess, like how lazy. But it also gets into the thing, like, do you want to be changing the channels on the TVs at work to for the employees to, for like, hey, do I set this for what I want to watch while I'm on the shift? Maybe you do, chat. DMS at REMINGTOM pod. Yeah, I would say it's probably like a 70-30 split of people in favor of people changing and I guess I wouldn't say anybody would be against, but people actually, putting in the effort to change the channel every time. But I guess point being, if you just leave like Fox, or I think because Fox might be the main one, but if you just leave it on and it's just playing at the restaurant, you just get like at the middle of the day, it's just like all the divorce court shows and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe we will have a little court corner at some point. I don't know. DM us at REMINGTOM pod if you're getting divorced. Call in. We'll do a little. Well, I don't know how we'll make that work. Maybe we'll have to get a lawyer to call in as well too. But I guess all that being said, shout out to the Cavs trying to get their first win in the NBA Cup. Do we have to pause? I guess, just pause for the entire... Do we have to just put a pause in for the whole season for NBA Cup? It is what it is. NBA Tourney, I feel like we need to have a little bit of a different name for it, because you don't necessarily think of the playoffs as a tournament in the same type of way. Obviously, the series makes it a little bit different. It is a tournament, a bracket, whatever. But again, it doesn't necessarily get that label. So I feel like if you said the NBA tourney or, the NBA tournament, maybe you wouldn't necessarily get it confused with the playoffs. Again, that's pretty labeled for what it is at this point. But the groups this year were pretty interesting because all roads lead back to San Antonio. The group that San Antonio in is pretty crazy. I don't know if we are getting competitive for the NBA Cup this year. I think we are maybe getting our sights set a little bit higher on something else, and I don't know if we immediately start there with the NBA talk chat. Again, everything just happens to be about San Antonio, but it just so happens that they are the number one team this year. And again, for Indy as well, like, it's been crazy. If you would have told us in the summer that these teams would have been off to basically the best starts in franchise, literally the best starts in franchise history. I know that San Antonio right now, it's the first time we've ever been 5-0. We've been a Spurs fan for, I guess, maybe not a long time compared to some other Spurs fans, but I guess for the percentage of our life, we've been a Spurs fan for a long time. So, I being a committed Spurs fan, I feel like we would have known something like that. But I just, with the overall success of the team, you don't necessarily get caught up in, like, are we 5-0 to start the year? We have a little bit sight set on bigger pictures, and we were able to, again, consistently win enough games. It's like, okay, we're going to be 50, 55, 60 wins every year. Regardless if we started 4-1 or 3-2 every year. Again, it ultimately didn't even matter. We didn't even notice, but there were stats with the Colts as well too, and obviously with the punting was a crazy way to start the season without punting, and just the overall offensive efficiency has continued. But for it to be the most efficient offense in NFL history and best start in franchise history, and then, like we're saying, San Antonio to be accomplishing the same thing is pretty crazy. I feel like we almost have to go back and look at the seasons. Like, is that? That's not obviously a blemish on the old Spurs teams, because I forget who I was listening to. Oh, it might have been the guy that was subbing in for Mace on the Cam and Mace pod this week. But he was saying that's like, even though this team is 5-0, and Wemby's obviously, again, hot take, you need us to say that Wemby's terrifying, but you still wouldn't necessarily pick the Spurs team to win a game over any I guess any version, but the versions of those San Antonio teams that were winning those games in the regular seasons, Duncan, Parker, Ginobili, I guess like, we're still taking that core as the better version of the team. But again, I think the point is where this team is at right now as well too. It is what it is being a young team. We say this for everyone. It's like they can only go They can only go up from here. But it really does seem like that for San Antonio. And again, because it's not just necessarily projecting the talent on the team as well too. It is because they have actual players on the roster that are going to be returning. And I mean, shout out to Sohan. We definitely, love Sohan here on the pod. I love this is like actually the most pro Sohan that people have been. Is what pro Sohan? Are we saying that right? Yeah, pro Sohan. That's like, like, what are we saying there? That feels like we're getting into terms, but it feels like people including him in like and again, he's an important rotation guy, so we're not saying he's not. But it's like, when we get Fox and Sohan back, we're going to be terrifying for the playoffs. It's like, okay, obviously, again, Fox, all NBA level player potentially. If Fox was, Tyus Jones, shout out, and it was like, oh, we get Tyus Jones and Sohan back, it'd be like, oh man, the team's going to be bulking up a little bit, get some added depth. But not maybe quite the same level of excitement for maybe, again, the shout out to Sohan piece of it. But, it's like, hey, are we getting starters back? And I, was, again, hey, what are we doing here? We're the Spurs fan, but we're also trying to, we're trying to win title here. Like, maybe Sohan was off the bench a little bit at the end of last year as well, too. But, again, like we have those major pieces that are going to be just into the lineup at some point this year. And you assume that Fox is just going to be, again, better for this team. It does get tricky where it's like, okay, this was the conversation with some people for Trae Young. It's like, does Trae Young just be the sixth man on the Hawks at some point? And like, is he moving to a different role? Like, does he want to do that? It's like, okay, well, worst case scenario, like this version of San Antonio is good. And you get Fox. Could he be like, oh, is he the sixth man on the team or whatever? But it's like, okay, you start getting into like a player at Fox's level. I guess if there's obviously some real commitment there, but he's obviously better than that, and it would be a little weird mentality type stuff. What is Harper and Castle like? That'd be insane if he was. They were so good that Fox had to be the sixth man of the team. Like, that's actually best. At best, worst case scenario, all this stuff. But again, you assume that bringing Fox in this lineup is gonna be okay, and Sohan's gonna be giving you additive minutes as well too. So this team again this year as well is probably gonna get better from where we're seeing it. And we were looking at the Western Conference in the offseason, and still obviously a lot of names, a lot of talent, fun to watch. Everybody in the league is fun to watch this year. And some of these teams are gonna work themselves out in the record standpoint. But again, I guess we start going playoff series 5 games in, and we can say so much of the league is going to change, but the league is obviously going to look different in April and May than it does now. There's going to be some shifts, even if it is, the unfortunate things that we don't want to have happen in the league. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But again, but if we're looking at the league right now, what we've seen, there isn't necessarily anybody that is, directly, I guess, OKC. We're not excluding them, obviously, because we're excluding them because they're in their own tier. But I guess outside of OKC, point being, there isn't necessarily a super scary team. And again, I don't know if we're on the sped up NFL timeline at this point, like 5 NBA games compared to 5 NFL games. But we were having this experience with the Colts this year where, we're getting halfway through the season and we're like, wait a second. We might just be contenders for the title at some point. I don't know. It's the worry is when you start admitting that to yourself. That's when you're like, wait a second, Daniel Jones is the quarterback. We're contending for a Super Bowl. Like, how's that going to work? But again, with the way he's been playing and with the way it's all working with the Taylor-led run game and to have the pieces like Warren injected in there in the passing game and the defense is stepping up and getting turnovers at convenient times. And, that stuff matters season to season. I know sometimes you can look going into a season, off season. like preseason, off season, looking ahead into the season, you can be like, hey, yo, this defense played really well last year. Are they going to be good again this year? And sometimes it is just they created a lot of turnovers last year and maybe necessarily didn't get like a ton of stops. I think you guys get what we're trying to say there, if it makes a little bit of sense. But again, some years defenses just get really hot with creating turnovers. And this year it seems like, I guess maybe if we go look at the last couple weeks, I don't know, we haven't checked the stats, but early in the year they were definitely wrecking havoc there, and they've still continued to, even though maybe the schedule's been weak, really, really have these dominant wins against their opponents. And again, you just have to admit yourself, like, the AFC at some point, this is what the picture of the AFC is. And yes, there's those familiar faces, Mahomes, the Chiefs are still terrifying. Bills and Josh Allen are terrifying. I don't know if Lamar Jackson is going to get back in the race at this point. Fortunately, they had a free win Thursday night against the Dolphins. That's what it is. There you go. But, so now they're at, 3 wins on the year? They really have to basically just win out at this point. I guess not impossible, but would be really, really crazy. And, Lamar might actually win the MVP. No, I'm not even joking. That's not even the funny hyperbole. I guess hyperbole would maybe be that they would win out at some point. We're not necessarily looking at the schedule here in front of us, but again, if they won 7 games, 8 games in a row, anybody wins 8 games in a row, you're probably going to be in the MVP conversation at some point. That is just half the season, however you want to dice it up. So I guess, if you win every other game and then just include the wins, you could say that they won 8 games in a row. But either way, I guess point being, how far do we have to, I guess maybe that's the question we should ask. Maybe that's the fair question. And just instead of sitting here declaring San Antonio as title contenders, maybe it is a little bit more appropriate to be like, how far into the season do we have to go before we can admit it to ourselves? And I feel like with a lot of things, you start, I guess NFL as well, any sort of season, you start getting a quarter of the way through. It's like, okay, we've gotten some miles under the tires. I don't know. What do you get miles under, Chad? Hey, yo, I guess anything. Running shoes, tires, whatever you want. But pause. But I guess maybe when we get to that 20-some game mark, and they're obviously still at the top of the Western Conference, then we have to really look at it at this point. But again, just personnel-wise, if we're eyeing some of these rosters at this point, nobody is jumping off as a major super scary person. Denver is obviously hovering right there, and 3-1. Jokic, at least scoring wise, has been really, field goal attempts been really not as aggressive. Last year, he had to just basically do everything for that team. And, did he crash a little bit in the playoffs? He scored his highest points per game. Again, it was super efficient. You look at his numbers, he's having a crazy year. I know that Wemby is, and this is, again, our infatuation with scoring. Wemby is the 30-point-a-game guy right now, and that is definitely, in a bunch of other things, but that is also helping propel the conversation, is he's added this really efficient scoring element to it as well, too. But yeah, you see Jokic is at 20 a game. Mind you, he's at 14.5 rebounds and 11.3 assists per game. 3 turnovers, but 11 assists. 2 steals as well, too. So Jokic, the defense, chat, hey, yo, he's like, Wemby, look out. And typical Jokic near 60%. I guess the 3-point shooting is kind of falling off. Hey, yo, well, falling off. Where, he hasn't necessarily had a hot start, we should say, for the 3-point shooting. 16%. I guess here, what are his totals for the year so far? He's at 4.5 a game through 4 games. So, 12, 16 threes. I don't know. Totals. Do we scroll right past him, chat? I think we did. Per 100 possession totals. Here we go. Oh, 18. Yeah, here we go. 3 for 18 from the 3-point line. I mean, Murray is, again, small sample size, 4 games. More efficient there as well. I guess 4 games, yeah, Jokic, I guess he's averaging a triple-double, but has actually achieved the triple-double mark 4 times in a row this year, which is actually crazy. Again, Wemby's just dominating all these stat lines, and Giannis as well, too. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I mean, I guess this is like a weapons style pod, chat. It's we got intermingling storylines all over the place and cutting to different parts of the league and whatever. But I guess we'll try to stay focused as best we can. But 4 triple doubles, 4 games in a row. I guess there is probably a longer pause, a different stretch of triple doubles. I'm sure Jokic just had one. I'm sure Westbrook has had, a couple weeks of averaging a triple double as well too. Westbrook's obviously awesome back then. well, yeah, Westbrook was awesome, Chet. Hey, yo, no disrespect, but that's just crazy as well too. Jokic is still obviously every bit as good as he has been over the last couple of years. Just in terms of them, in terms of us seeing what the sort of best version of Denver is, and maybe again, obviously, talent on the floor. Jokic has that moldability that if these people are scoring, he's gonna let them score, and he'll. Like, this is actually, again, like I'm saying, with the way that he played last year, he's fine just personally. He doesn't care about the stats and all different stuff. Like, he doesn't care if his box score says 20 points this season compared to the other seasons or whatever. You know, he's just going to go out and play basketball. And if these other guys can do a little bit of work while Jokic is collecting assists, then make no mistake, he's going to, you know, put up the stats that way. But, again, they haven't built this roster maybe a little bit more completely this year as well too. But again, the main thing obviously on Denver that's scary is Jokic, because the rest of the talent, you start going player to player and you go, okay, at least we have a guy to throw at that guy. Like, is Castle, I guess we should say offensively, is he as good as Murray right now? Because you start adding in the defense, the two-way stuff, you know, it is an interesting conversation, especially value of the league, who you're playing with. Like, well, Castle and Jokic would be fun. And I mean, Murray and Wemby would be fun as well too. I mean, shout out. But guess what? Castle and Murray are both really good. But, you know, is Castle objectively, I guess, definitely a better player than Murray right now? Is just undoubtable. You know, I don't know if that's true. But again, you would put Castle defensively on Murray in a playoff series and feel pretty good. Pause. You know, you feel pretty confident in that matchup. And it's not, I guess we should even, you know, just are talking about adding the talent into the lineup this year as well too, but it goes to what we were saying earlier. If this team, just the players that we have on the floor right now, does have potential to get better because of where they're at in their timelines. I mean, Wemby, you would assume, I don't know what his stats look like for him getting better. You know, it's just continued more like IQ stuff at this point. Because I mean, I guess, you know, shout out. I'm maybe, again, this is maybe the joking stuff. I guess maybe Wemby could average 40 and 20 in a season or something crazy like that. Like, maybe he does actually get into Wilt Chamberlain territory with the act. Like, we look at the numbers on the page and we're like, this is Wilt Chamberlain-esque. But it also, you know, again, if he's 30, 14, and 57% from the field for the rest of his career, he's a pretty good player. Like, he's, you know, man's going into the Hall of Fame. And with the defensive stuff on top of that as well too, one of the best we've ever seen. But again, with the IQ stuff continuing to improve, with the chemistry as well. And that is another thing. Maybe we should have written all the pro factors down, Chad. Hey, yo, but the chemistry, I think, is underrated. And yes, it's a young team. But, hey, yo, 2025, these teams are changing all the time. You know, players are getting traded. Like, the continuity that the Spurs have is not necessarily outdone by another team in a major way. Again, if we're really looking at these top contenders, OKC aside, Denver, their first year together, again, the Jokic factor makes that a little bit, you know, who cares? But still, regardless, first team together. Golden State, they did get Butler traded at the end of last year, so, or, you know, after the trade deadline. I guess not after, but, you know, trade deadline time, they got Jimmy Butler on the team, and they only had that half a season. This is their first offseason together as a team. And then you start looking into the Memphis, Blazers, Clippers, Jazz territory. I guess Minnesota would be one with continuity as well too, year to year. But Ant-Man is hurt right now, and you know, it just, who knows? I guess they have, like, some of the guys have been playing really well without Ant-Man. But obviously, again, you know, MVP talk as well too. His value is definitely being shown right now. So they're obviously kind of like a team you have to keep an eye on. Ooh, we'll be watching them over the course of the season, see how they get better. We could definitely see a 2026 run for Minnesota where it's like middle of February, I guess, you know, after the All-Star break, or maybe sort of broken up by the All-Star break, so it goes a little unnoticed. But it's like, oh, you know, Minnesota won 6 in a row before the All-Star break, and they've won 6 in a row afterwards, and they're really starting to, you know, get going at this point. Like, we could definitely see that turnaround happening in the season. But again, it's not like, hey, yo, I guess we'll just scroll down and just keep OKC off the screen, because, again, we're not talking about OKC. It is, I don't even know, the NBA Cup, it doesn't even matter, but, you know, hey, yo, like, their OKC group is crazy. Did we save the post? I don't think we saved the post with the groups, but I bet the NBA's got it. There's no way they don't have it pinned, right? They want us to know what the groups are for the... Does the NBA Cup have its own G League, or its own G League, hey, yo, its own Instagram page? I don't know. But, yeah, West Group A is OKC. I guess, hey, yo, chat, what are we doing? I'm just scrolling through on my phone over here. We should just look it up so you guys can see it as well, too. NBA Cup 2026. Do we try to make sure we get the right one here? 2025. I guess it would have been in 2024 last year. When's the championship game? The championship game's not in 2025, is it? I don't know. Tournament planned to be held October through December 16th. Okay, yeah. So it does go to the end of the year, but, you know, kind of right up until the Christmas time here. Okay, so wait. Oh, this is the whole season Wikipedia page. Hey, yo, overkill chat. We just need the NBA Cup. Oh, yeah, shout out Marco Bellinelli, retired. Hey, yo. I don't know. Did we do a Marco Bellinelli segment? I'm not sure. But we got to find one with just the groups here. Hey, yo. It is complete schedule, key. We just need a picture. It is what it is. We're visual learners. I mean, come on. It's 2025. Should be easy enough to just post about. Actually, they probably would just have the groups here. Oh, perfect, chat. Hey, yo. Groups tab. We'll get there. Hey, this is what we were looking at on our phone. Now you guys are caught up. So, yeah, I mean, jumps right off the page, chat. Hey, yo, West Group A, OKC, Phoenix, Utah, Sacramento, Minnesota. I mean, what's the combined record of these teams, chat? Hey, yo, we've got Utah, Minnesota, Phoenix, Sacramento. I mean, this is crazy. Does OKC have as many wins? OKC is 6-0, and the other teams in their group are 4-8 and 11 and 4 and hey, yo, Chad, 4 and 13. I mean, can we not do math? DM us what the right answer is at Remington Pod. But the OKC has more wins by themselves than their group has combined. So yeah, Utah, Minnesota, Phoenix, Sacramento. I think we got that right. San Antonio has Denver, Golden State, Houston, Portland. And then, you know, I don't know if San Antonio is the most terrifying team there, but that is, I guess, 2, 3, 4, and then Portland's 5th right now, tied for 5th in a bunch of teams. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Technically, they're, I guess, 7 in whatever way they have the stats ordered here as well. But I see AO, simple rating system. Their numbers kind of standing out. They do have Denver as the best team, so that is, I mean, not unsurprising. And Houston, I mean, obviously we didn't mention Houston when we were talking about Minnesota as like, oh, keep an eye on them team. It's like, yeah, obviously Houston is a keep an eye on them team. That's another one, you know, kind of clear case of continuity issue, not issues, I guess. But, you know, again, that's their first year with this roster together, so it's going to be a couple of games, we would assume, for them figuring it out. And then the fact that they are having to work through the fact that they don't have a point guard in the way that they thought maybe Van Fleet would be captaining this team, but still the athleticism and the scoring potential that they have, you know, just Durant there, and then whatever Amen Thompson and the other guys are able to unlock, still terrifying. But regardless, this version of the team, not necessarily, I would say, again, more terrifying than the Spurs. Am I sitting here saying that, oh, the Spurs are going to take down the Rockets in 4 in the playoffs? No, I mean, yeah, the Rockets could definitely take the Spurs in a playoff series. I would not be shocked at that at all. But point being, I'm not looking at, put it on the bulletin board for Houston, but I'm not looking at Houston as scared. Again, not necessarily surprising if they, a couple months from now, win against San Antonio in a playoff series or are the better team or whatever. But not scared of them right now. Not scared of any of these teams outside of, not scared of OKC right now. I don't know, Chad. But, you start having, and it's the Wembanyama factor as well, too. I mean, he obviously elevates whatever the ceiling of the team is by a couple extra levels. And then defensively, the way he's just able to immediately impact, potentially, in most of the time, obviously offense is what, is the other team's best players' best attributes or their offensive attributes. Most of the time he's able to, the way he's able to neutralize or, really affect that element of the game offensively, because it's so good defensively. Hot take. But regardless, makes him good against the other teams. It is what it is. But, I don't know. NBA Cup, it maybe is a prove-it moment for when they match up against these teams in the regular season. Though, again, it's not like it changes their schedule or anything because, they still have to play all these teams. It's just that when they play them, it's going to be on a, different type of court, I guess. But West Group B, we got Lakers, Clippers, Mavs, Grizzlies and Pelicans, chat. This is depressing. Hey, yo, can we just like do a couple of trades between Group B and C here? Hey, yo, is there some geographical stuff? I mean, it is west to east, so it's all kind of even. But both LA teams, Dallas. I mean, I guess I don't know if we go like Texas tournament, Denver. Portland is a little north there, chat. Hey, yo, I don't know. We do like a little Portland for New Orleans, maybe. Is a fair trade. And then I don't know if we have to make one more move at that point. We could just do Portland for New Orleans, Dallas for Golden State, and then you'd have the 3 California teams. I guess Memphis would be the one out of place team there. So Golden State for Memphis, and then you have Dallas, the 3 California teams, and then I don't know if you just put all the California teams in a tournament. Why don't you just do it that way, chat? Hey, yo. I mean, I guess they're going to mix it up every year based on records last year. It is what it is. But, hey, yo, that's right. It is based on records. Well, I guess Phoenix. Well, Phoenix might have been the low-key team. Because you would have had OKC and Minnesota is pretty stacked for 2025, obviously. But, yeah, this year, records looking a little bit different. We got East Group A, Hawks, Cavs, Pacers, Raptors, Wizards is pretty fun. Wizards, competing with the Thunder the other night, and I know that they might not necessarily turn this stuff into wins, but, you see it again, but you see it now with San Antonio, where sometimes you need the season of the competitiveness and there is something here, obviously, and then next year, the year after, whatever, you start actually translating it when you take the next step forward, assuming all these guys continue to develop as players, and, they've got a interesting mix of, they don't necessarily have, like, Wembanyama type, franchise type guy or whatever that we would at least claim at this point, or, how we would throw our random labels on it for NBA fans. But, regardless, the core that they do have is obviously overperforming a little bit and competing in all of these games. So maybe it is a sort of, I don't know, 2026, 7. Now we're really starting to look ahead, chat. We were looking ahead for this playoffs for the Spurs. It's like we're looking ahead now 4 games in. 26 is going to be okay for Washington. But that's something, chat. Is that light at the end of the tunnel? There'd be times where you go into the year and you're like, oh, man, this year is going to be bad. And what do we have? Oh, man, the hope that we're going to bomb another draft pick. Like, it's, hey, yo, shout out. We're not shout out, but... IT, cut that out. But we got, the hope that they're going to ruin another draft pick or whatever. I don't know. But East Group B, we've got Celtics, Brooklyn, Pistons, Magic, Sixers. And it was Boston versus Philly tonight. We were kind of looking forward to pirating that game and see if we could watch it. But it wasn't even worth trying to go through the effort, chat. By the time we got on the live stream, Boston was, I guess, dominating the game. I was lay the smackdown, whatever. Hey, whatever you want to say, it is what it is. Ooh, and I guess, yeah, true. The Blue Jays, they are looking to close out. I guess not registering 3-2. What happened to LA after the dramatic 18-inning win? It'd be kind of unfortunate. Obviously, it'd be unfortunate. Hey, hot take. It'd be unfortunate to lose the World Series, but to have the historic moment like that and lose. I'm trying to think of like an NBA or an NFL moment that would have happened like that. I mean, maybe that's the point, is they kind of, they would go unnoticed a little bit if stuff like that doesn't go down. I'm sure like Brady, well, I guess Brady had the near play at the end of the Giants game where it's like, okay, there's a little bit more of a percentage chance that they would have got that Hail Mary than maybe Giants fans would have liked. But, you got the now I'm trying to remember which way it goes. The Titans player. The Titans player getting tackled by the Rams player at the 1-yard line. That's a pretty iconic play, sort of, almost. But I wouldn't say that, again, that's not like a positive result getting neutralized by a bad result later on. I mean, I guess NFL, the series gives you a little bit more opportunity for that. NFL game to game, it's a little bit of a different setup. But series-wise, I'm trying to think NBA. I guess we don't have the I was going to say Sean McVay recall or the LeBron, any other NBA guy, JJ Redick, that's associated with the Lakers that has the recall. I don't know. I think Steve Nash as well, too. We don't have the Mind the Game pod recall. It is what it is. Though, you know what? Mind the Game with Sean McVay would be pretty fun. I'm sure LeBron is, a football expert. Yeah, I'm sure he's, known about McVay since before people knew about McVay. But that would be a fun mix-up sort of pod as well too, or like a soccer coach. A soccer coach maybe wouldn't get the American mainstream publicity, but I guess you get anybody on a pod with LeBron, like people are gonna know about it. And I feel like again, soccer, hot take, probably pretty popular in America. I'm sure a lot of people would know, and it would be I think LeBron's claimed to like soccer before, so maybe that's an interesting one as well too. Maybe there's like a mind the game, extra coaches edition, something. I don't know if that's season 3. I think the basketball stuff is still going in the right direction, but or maybe an off-season edition. You do like a couple of bonus. I guess LeBron working in the off-season chat. I don't know, but maybe we get them out of a vineyard somewhere and a couple of bonus episodes with some random coaches. Could be fun. You go like Sean McVay, the #1 hockey coach. You could go Sharon Moore. I don't know. You get a college wizard in the mix. I don't know. Maybe you go. Do we not say Ryan Day, chat? Hey, yo. Like Dan Lanning or Dion? Oh, it has to be Dion, chat. Of course. Mind the game with Dion would be crazy. I mean, regardless of what you want to say about the execution of every step of the way at college. Well, hey, yo, chat. Shout out. But, I guess, regardless, IT, cut that out for sure. Shout out Dion. We're not trying to make jokes here. But, I guess he not necessarily, the perfect results all the way through at Colorado, but it's not like the man, just in terms of sharing football information, wouldn't be a genius. I mean, we've seen him obviously on platforms already, and he's, obviously one of the most entertaining. So him and I'm sure anybody, but that would be a fun as well too. So there you go, chat. Hey, yo, I guess is it Undisputed? Who's the media company behind Mind the Game? I guess Spring Hill, or just is Clutch Sports Media a thing? I guess that's what probably Spring Hill basically is. But hey, yo, so there you go, Sean McVay. I guess, and we're only saying current coaches as well too. As of right now, we'll see if they go to the offseason. If Dion's, we'll see if the current coach label still applies. But again, there could be other reasons for that as well too. So if it's for non-football reasons, obviously, shout out. But I mean, shout out either way, obviously. But I guess that's at least 3. We don't necessarily have the soccer name. Show some love to Ultimate Frisbee, chat. We get an Ultimate Frisbee coach. Who's Wettengale's coach in the Ultimate Frisbee League? We could get him on the Mind the Game pod. Shout out to the Ultimate Frisbee fans that are listening. We'll have to check in and see. Are we in season right now, chat? Hey, yo, we maybe haven't memorized the schedule yet, but we are definitely getting there. Pause. Bulls up over the Knicks right now. We just saw that on the ESPN scoreboard. I mean, one of the only other undefeated teams in the league at this point at 4-0. That's another one. I don't know if and the problem is, I don't know if we ever admit to ourselves that they're a contender, but maybe we admit to ourselves that they're a good regular season team. And again, that there is something obviously to build on going forward, because Spurs fans, hey, yo, I don't know if we start going like, we're supposed to be better going into the offseason. But again, we had the name brand types of players on the teams, and a little bit, higher draft picks as well too. I guess that is the respect to in some ways to the Bulls for constantly being mediocre. Hey, yo, but there is obviously the hype that just you have with those prospects as well too, and then for them to be as special as a guy like Wembanyama, or being as talented entering the league as Castle and Harper have shown, again, they're going to get hype. But we would still put more successful instant expectations on this team versus what we have on Chicago. Even though, again, I don't know over-unders if like San Antonio was way over Chicago, though they probably were. But I guess Eastern Conference, if Chicago was 44 wins and San Antonio was 49, 50, if it was 45 and 50 wins, I guess 45 is right in that range for the Bulls. That'd be, hey, yo, Rem can't do math, but what are we looking at, like 45 and 41? At that point, I don't even know if that's right, Shay. Hey, yo, we're not even going to worry about it. But it's close enough. You get it. They're going to be barely over 500. But we got, I guess San Antonio being, again, a handful of games over that wouldn't be super crazy, where it's like maybe they're in a different tier competitively, but you look at the records, look at the stats, maybe there's some stuff that's kind of close. But again, for them being a competitive Eastern Conference team, like maybe we get a point in the season where it's like, hey, guess who's not going to be in the play-in, but in a positive way this year? The Chicago Bulls. And again, you got the way that Buzelis has been taken a little bit of a leap forward as well too, with the some of the other guys that you have. I mean, I get it. The Giddy trade, ayo, as well. Obviously proving to be a win-win for both teams at this point. But yeah, it's not like they've had, they've had some of those later end lottery picks, and they haven't necessarily gotten major minutes from those guys as well too. But just a group of pros, the constant group of pros. So I don't know if they will definitely, speaking of Minnesota going on the random 12-game win streak later in the year, the Bulls are going to go on like an 8-game losing streak at some point. Shout out. I know they definitely won't now. They'll probably continue to be the best team in the league. But they do seem like a team that would sneak. And again, because of the expectations, and we would just kind of be checking their record. And it's like, okay, as long as they're over 500, like, hey, it is what it is. So it's like, oh, wait a second. It's trending down a little bit every game. They're losing. The losses are starting to pile up here. They spotted themselves, I think, a little bit of time before we realized, oh, wait a second. Is this Bulls thing going the other way? Pause. But, whoa. Hey, yo. But, but again, offensively anyways, Giddy and Buzelis is a pretty interesting combo as well too, and that is going to be one that we're going to have to go back and catch up on the blackout restricted games for the Chicago Bulls, just to watch those guys in the court together, because that is a unique combo as well too. But their games, that kind of mid-range playmaker-y. Obviously, I think Buzelis a little bit more score first, Giddy a little bit more pass first, but that balance, I think, really, really works. And the sort of other element of their game, Giddy scoring, Buzelis' playmaking, again, I think kind of perfectly complementary. Oh, chat, Philly! Speaking of watching the scoreboard, Philly's closed it to 3. Ooh, we might have to go back to try to burn in that game. Hey, yo, it is what it is. Shout out. We've been, I guess, buying time with this UNC-Syracuse game. But we might have to try to load up that game here and see what's going on. Actually, chat, hey, yo, I almost forgot. We are, it is what it is. It's going to happen. We're going to get distracted by the NBA. But we are going to have to, we do got a fun little background movie to throw on as well, too. Halloween time. It's appropriate. It turns out that it's also the 30th, and we can do math for that one, chat. The 30th anniversary, 1995, that this movie was dropped. Vampire in Brooklyn, a classic, chat. An Eddie Murphy Halloween, a year-round classic, really. It's a story about, it transcends just the Halloween times. But I guess since it also fits the vibes of the season as well, too, it does seem appropriate. If we're gonna skip some NBA tournament action, even that's just a little bland, I guess, as well too. NBA Cup, at least, hey, yo, it's got something, but pause. But whoa, but if we're gonna skip some NBA Cup games, maybe a worthy classic like Vampire Brooklyn would be one that would again qualify. But yeah, hey, yo, so we should actually click on the game here and see what's going on. The Maxi Ascension as well too. If we're going first team all. Again, first team all ascension is pretty crazy. But first team all guys that are playing better this year, the non-pause label, Wemby is, first team as well too. But, again, an inappropriate first team, a little bit of an expected first team. A guy that we hoped would have made that leap as well too. Again, just entertainment-wise, obviously, the way he's captivated the league, you definitely, see his value there as well too. Edgecombe 6 for VJ Edgecombe is 6 for 9 tonight, chat. I mean, he's doing it on purpose. Pause. Shout out. Wait a second. We haven't really watched this game for a couple of minutes when we were like, oh, are we gonna try to watch the one? Then it's like if we're gonna have to fight the bots, maybe we'll wait for it to get a little bit closer. But yeah, Maxi is playing tonight. 18 points as well too. And I mean, he's playing well. Of course, 5 for 10 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, but he is getting to the line. Embiid, -6, though he's got 17. I mean, we can't just trust the stats, chat. We have to watch it and, see the film ourselves. Quentin Grimes, 17 minutes. Hey, yo, close. Not quite double-digit points. But Embiid, Oubre, Maxi, and Edgecombe, chat, pause the big 4 in Philly. Is that the new Bleacher Report graphic? We get those guys all in double digits. I mean, Oubre is definitely going to, mentality, confidence, swagger-wise, hang with all those guys. And play like he's one of the top-notch guys in the league, but, also has that perfect complementary skill set as well, too, when his shot is being made consistently. So, yeah, I guess not necessarily a major difference in the second quarter in the score, only Philly up by 2. But a run here in the third quarter has started to close the gap. Pause. And I guess, again, to talk about Maxey as well, too. We've been pretty pro Maxey's game. I mean, this is what happens when you're pro everybody in the league. And then when a couple of them are good, you're like, yeah, we like that guy. But it's like, hey, yo, I'm pretty sure you just like every basketball player. I'm pretty sure you just like basketball. So it's like, it is what it is there. But I think we also kind of recognized how special his scoring talent could be. So it's really definitely, coming to fruition now, if we're saying that correctly. And it's, again, speaking of translating to wins, helping there as well, too. I guess, the 3-point percentage is back to crazy efficiency, because it is kind of sneaky, again, I guess early on in his career there, like how efficient he was from 3. Again, you start going like 42, 43%. It is little differences, but just, again, the overall difference between, 40 and 42 is a little bit of a different level. So as the volume went up there, so you see like 17 a game, he's 42%, 20 a game, he's 43%, 40% from the field, both of those years. And then he goes to the extra scoring level where, again, creativity, attacking, athleticism, and I guess to some degree as well, too, efficiency, even still in that 26 a game season where he was the most valuable player. 37% from 3 is still pretty good for a high volume 3-point shooter as well, too. But 47% this year is insane. Yeah, he leads the league in points per game. Whoa, I didn't even realize that. But he also leads in attempts and minutes and shot attempts. So, chat, you don't want to say Iverson reincarnated just because, shout out, Iverson's a 101. And in some ways, Maxey's game is a little bit different as well. Yeah, I would say Maxey's a little bit more, I guess he's not necessarily smoother, but a little bit more straight line. Whoa, Syracuse running the flea flicker. Oh! Between 3 guys, and it works, chat. They get to midfield. Shout out. So, finally it pays off watching the Syracuse-North Carolina game. Syracuse does something exciting, but I guess North Carolina was up 3-0, so just the North Carolina trick-or-treat season, I guess, they're talking about the trick-or-treat play there, too, I guess, the flea flicker, but North Carolina fans into thinking they're going to have a good year, they get a little treat after the games. Oh, no, I tell you, I cut that one out, but, Maxey, I guess, treating Philly fans to a good season. Is that a pause? It's a transition? I don't know. But, again, if the 3-point shooting is that crazy, then, definitely just you're going to be a winning player at that point if you're not missing from the 3-point line. But, again, he's been in that already, just numbers-wise, been in that 27 point a game range. So if he was there and, again, like we're saying, you can kind of see the little bit of a difference. If he was 37% a game, you're like, yeah, this is a very good player. If it's 47%, it's like, whoa, is he the best guard in the league? At this point, the most dangerous scoring guard in the league. But I guess maybe, again, him having those individual seasons as well, too, which is also something that we're going to become, trying to be more conscious of, is just the not the random seasons, but again, there is a little bit of an ebb and a flow to this type of stuff where obviously, the great players are the best players for forever. LeBron, you could go back and rank every player every year. It's like LeBron's just going to be the best player every year. I guess in some ways you could have your Jokic Giannis debate, but they're going to be 1 and 2 over the last couple of years. Just they're going to consistently dominate whatever. But sometimes it is who were the guys that, like Tatum, for example, would be a guy that we're going to look back and say, oh, he's one of obviously the defining players of the, era. He is a title winner in this time as well, too. So obviously that helps. But, I don't know if you at this point would have ever said, and maybe this again would have been this season, unfortunately, that he could have gotten as closest to it. But, up until this point, again, you never would have said he would have been like the best player at any one point in the league. So I guess, I don't know, like Kevin McHale, I don't know, again, he's obviously, it's like, okay, you know him for, you know, being like a six man. So you would never say like a six man's the best player in the league, but obviously he was pretty good as well too. But, you know, guys like that, you know, James Worthy, maybe he's a little bit down from, you know, just a slight smidge down from just, you know, obviously scoring, I guess, maybe from where Maxey's at. I don't know. Maxey a little faster than Worthy. I don't know, you know. I'm going to sit here and talk about James Worthy's games like we know what we're talking about. But, you know, like who are the great players that, again, being the absolute best player, or I guess not best player for Maxey, but, you know, best guard, best player at your position in the league, top 3, top 5. Again, there is ebbs and flows of that stuff, and like I'm saying, but the consistency to always be up at the top is what can lead to greatness as well too, more so than just, you know, again, did this guy achieve that spot? Chris Paul, I think, was actually, you know, again, at one point, like the best point guard in the league, but also had a whole stretch of his career there where, again, as like guys like Steph and Westbrook and Harden were in the mix, you would never have necessarily said that. Like Chris Paul was better than those guys, and I guess maybe it proved out as well too. You know, the winning kind of, you know, added up in a certain way. But you know, again, the impact would have been there as well too for him to, you know, go down the all-time, obviously the all-time great stuff, whatever. But you know, regardless, that is Maxey is, I guess, you know, again for this season, maybe playing like the best guard in the league. And I guess, you know, this gets to the how many years before we say, oh, you know, would we rather have Maxey on our team than, you know, I guess, you know, like Bill Simmons has been talking about, like, oh, is the Brunson, you know, I guess Mitchell level, is that what he's been saying? And you know, again, that makes sense scoring wise as well too. You could see Mitchell score first guy, you know, we just 27 a game. If Philly starts winning some games, very comparable stats and impact and stylistically what they can do. But hey, yo, drink break. But I guess Mitchell is a good comparison as well too, where I don't know, at least in the conversation for, I don't know, best guard in the league, but he's definitely had seasons and had playoff moments and in whatever. But, or, you know, like the random, I guess we're kind of bouncing back and forth between pause thoughts here. Hey, yo. But I guess the point being, you know, being more open to just pause the fact that a guy is, again, can just like have a really good 1 year. And not to say that, hey, yo, Maxey is not going to be one of the best guards in the league going forward. But, again, to put the expectations on him that if he has an amazing season this year, that he has to be an MVP next year is, you know, again, we'll probably hope for it and definitely in some ways, you know, project it because we are, again, you know, we believe in Maxey talent as well, too, for him to unlock all of those levels for himself as a player. But if he is this year, like, oh man, it's also kind of the newness of you climbing up those levels as well too. And as we take your greatness for granted, you know, some of that stuff can move around. Pause. But you know, we talked about like with Devin Booker as well too. It's like, oh yeah, that year that he went to the finals with the Suns, or those couple of years, you know, again, he's just playing on a little bit of a different level as well too. You know, obviously better team. But I guess, you know, point being, you know, hey, yo, Maxey is definitely in a different type of conversation here. Excuse us, chat. Hey, yo. It is what it is. But, you know, again, you also have the Halliburton injury as well, too. So there is just a vacant guard spot. I mean, Edwards is hurt right now and not playing and maybe a little limited. So there is just, again, some territory to be claimed a little bit for the 2025 season. But again, as time goes on, there's going to be other guys. Hey, yo, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper. Maybe they don't get to the scoring levels of Maxey, but maybe there's a defensive thing that, you know, gets in the mix as well, too. You know, and again, Maxey is having a crazy efficient year. But even if the next year he goes down, or the rest of the season, it's like Maxey's 38% from three, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? Luka's playmaking and all that stuff looks pretty good as well, too. And I don't think anybody's putting him over Luka at this point. I think maybe that is, you know, you got the Luka, Shea, Edwards tier, and then maybe you do start going into that next tier. Even though, you know, again, like Brunson, Luka, you know, it's sort of a half tier, I guess, between some of those guys at a given time. But yeah, hey, again, Maxey, you know, I guess just for him to really get that 3-point number back up in a really efficient way where that had dropped off last year. I think maybe a little bit healthier this year as well, too. I don't know what his full injury timeline was last year, if we remember that correctly, but an opportunity as well with just him being having to be a little bit more of a focal point. You know, you're not necessarily having sort of the and I'm not trying to say this critically, but the sort of stagnant Embiid possessions, where again there is a way for Maxey cutting off of that and being effective pick and roll guy with Embiid, that it is a scary combo. Peak of their powers Embiid and peak of their powers Maxey. Like, that's obviously, two players that you want to have on your team at the same time. Unfortunately, probably not going to happen. But, they got close there. that one season, I guess. But, yeah, the idea of Maxey, a little bit more space, free to create, a little bit more of him focused on actually being the attacking, the main guy attacking, instead of, and not to say that, again, he wouldn't have opportunity to do that with Embiid as well too, just him being as good as he is. But it's different when it's like, okay, well, Maxey is just the guy now at this point, and we have to go to Maxey. And again, pause, I don't know, but guys like McCain, or you see Edgecombe as well too. We're still on the Bulls team here. I don't know, but Edgecombe as well too is just that complimentary player that you want to have around him to give him that space and to help with the defense, and is kind of an equal athlete as well too, which is a little bit of the part that, I don't know, we just weren't necessarily factoring that in, I guess, in a major way into and it's like, yes, obviously these athletic guards, they go at the top of the draft for some reason, but it wasn't necessarily like the top of the list for his attributes and hit the draft talk for him. And, again, it was, I think, a credit to his skill, projectability for the shooting and the defense pause, for that stuff to be really, really good in the NBA. But it wasn't necessarily, again, like, and not to say that he's Amen Thompson, but you weren't being, I think, branded as like, oh, the Phillies getting an A+ athlete that's also a really good, 3-point shooter and defender as well. It felt a little more Brandon Miller-esque, I feel like. And again, I feel like Brandon Miller, sneaky athlete, but I wouldn't say that he's necessarily, speed-wise and all that stuff, like playing above the rim, flying around. He is to some degree, but he's also a little bit more, he'll run around off a screen and hit some threes as well, too. We just need to see Brandon Miller play more, I guess, stay healthy. We're saying that, wishfully, not like, stay healthy, but because I guess you can't demand a guy to do that. Oh, Embiid, 4 turnovers as well, too, Chad. Maybe stop looking at the box score for Embiid. 5 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 18 minutes. So I guess we'll see where they go. What are going to be the answers in the course of the season? Janai Broom, you get him playing some minutes maybe. I don't know if he can necessarily take over the Embiid spot. Simon's playing well tonight, but we may have to actually consider doing some kind of Eastern Conference All-Star tracker. I guess Peyton Pritchard has slowed down a little bit in the second half, so maybe that's the key for Philly getting back in the game. But he had 13, I think, in the first half. So, yeah, he's missed a bunch of threes here in the second, and he is now 1 for 9 on the game. So, shout out. Maybe Eastern Conference All-Star tracker is, shut back down at this point. But he would have been an interesting guy if it's like, wait a second, 20 a game? What's going on here? Boston? I guess there would have been only 500 with win tonight. I guess Edgecombe is a little bit more like, ooh, would that guy be an all-star? I guess we're saying Pritchard because we were joking about it in the offseason. And, just seeing how that carries over more so than being realistic about right now, even though, again, it's not, to say that he wouldn't have a run. 22 a game, chat. 47 and 43. I mean, legitimately one of the best rookie seasons that we might have ever had. I mean, I don't know if we have to go do a stat head real quick and compare some of the efficiency stuff, but again, to put that together, I guess, 4 games in, I'm calling it one of the best seasons, one of the best starts, one of the best 4 games. But that would also be, a little bit of a, in the season run as well too, that maybe you would get after having a little bit of adjustment to the NBA. And I think he is, I guess we do, the Cooper Flag thing as well. Like it was definitely talked about in the draft, but he did reclassify. So I guess now that he doesn't have as many points as Edgecombe, it's like, oh, well, he would be he should be a freshman in college right now, but that is also true. So I don't know if maybe Edgecombe also reclassified. Cedric Coward is actually leading in VORP. Oh, he is, Chad. Shout out Cedric Coward. 122 minutes. Yeah, 80 points. So he's actually playing 16 a game. Yeah, shout out. I guess he's number 2 in the class. Harper already, though. Yeah, you see it 14 and a half a game. Like, that's not nothing, chat. That's in 25 minutes. So I guess Coward at 16 at 24. He is actually, I guess I was going to do that math, but they have the per 36 here. We could just go back and forth between the pages real quick. So he would actually probably be the better producer per 36. He is sitting at 23 games. Cedric Howard per 36 minutes, 65% field goal. So yeah, he's not missing in the limited minutes, right? Limited attempts. 28 for 43 on the season. 11 for 17 for 3. Cedric Howard. So this is, the 3-and-D athletics, the defensive jump shot athleticism from these guys is definitely some of the most instant impact stuff that we've seen. Coward was a guy with that just sort of, the A+ skill set sort of checks all the boxes type of guy. I guess 22, so there is that senior element where it's like, we have to take only, I guess, reclassified people or whatever. Hey, I don't know, NBA sketchy for that, but, Cedric Howard, you can't take a 22-year-old, chat. What, we got Leo for these GMs, chat? We need like a, I guess, is there like a Leo DiCaprio tier for draft guys? Where it's like, if we, if it was, maybe we'd consider Cedric Howard, but I don't know what the, do we have, because again, the draft, it's actually the other way. It's like, Leo DiCaprio would love the draft. Pause. Whoa. But the allegations are, I see maybe we have to go to break. I'm not sure, but either way, I guess Cedric Howard, crazy rookie season. But, Dylan Harper, I guess, to go back to San Antonio. Again, chat, we're back on the San Antonio chapter in the Weapons movie right now. Go back to San Antonio. Harper is going to be, well, I guess now I'm getting to we've been on long enough, pause. I can get into the biased fan talk. Harper's going to be a 25-point-a-game scorer. I'll just say crazy numbers. He's going to be a 25-point-a-game scorer. At some point in the year. Ooh, and shout out, speaking of Syracuse, that's right, they have Melo's kid this year. So, this is the sign that, of course, you're going through life as a sports fan as well, too. But, I mean, Melo is one of our favorite players. I guess, yeah, he is one of our favorite players. I don't know if he's like a first-team favorite. I know there is obviously that bias toward guys on your favorite team, but I guess, if when we say favorite players and we talk about non-Spurs guys, I think there's that sort of unsaid thing that, like, yeah, obviously, we're talking about our favorite non-Spurs guys, but, regardless, Melo is up there for our favorite guys list. Highlights, some of his best moments are just personally some of the most fun highlights that, again, I personally enjoy to watch. But, and just his game is so fun as well, too. Again, there is that analytics part of it that does, I don't want to say ruin his game, but it does make you view what, again, the stats that he had in a different way if you put his stats into 2025. But I don't think that necessarily, and, we do this with every player, so I'm not necessarily, again, like, okay, well, now we'll make the exception for Melo. But, people like do this with Bill Russell as well, too, where it's like, okay, well, I guess maybe that is the conversation. Like, yes, we get the person from the era and put them in the game today, but it's like, okay, there is going to be some adjustment to how they play. I know that, again, there is sort of just that, human evolution part of it as well, too, where it's like, oh, the athleticism and whatever is, how can they keep up? But it's like, also, I'm sure these guys were athletes back then as well. And you're telling me defense doesn't translate? You're telling me rebound doesn't translate? Like, Wemby gets, 5 blocks a game. I know he's, 7.5 feet tall, but you're telling me Bill Russell couldn't get a ton of blocks a game? Like, why couldn't Bill Russell get 20 rebounds a game in the NBA? I don't know. Like, maybe it's 13, or 14, I guess, it is a little bit different. But regardless, I think, numbers wouldn't be too crazy off. But who are we going with for the eras there, chat? I just looked at Dylan Harper's name, and I was like, Dylan Harper, he could play in any era as well, too. But I guess point being, there's somebody could, the stats could translate in every era. But I guess, point being, there would be an adjustment play style-wise. You got to figure out who their teammates are. Now they have the advantage of whatever, advantage the modern NBA gives to their game with the spacing as well, too. Like, if you have enough three-point perimeter guys around some of these guys, it's like, okay, well, now they're just kind of in the same spot that some of these other playmakers that can't shoot threes or whatever are in. So I don't know, what's different there. Now you just get an elite version of it, a guy that we know is in the Hall of Fame. It's like, Oscar Robertson, you get a couple shooters around that, a couple 3-point guys around that guy, and it's not going to go well. Like, I think, and maybe he's not one that, again, gets debated. Hey, yo, chat, who are we talking about? I forgot. Hey, yo, we lost our train of thought for the Halloween episode. It is what it is. Was it somebody on the Philly? Was it Edgecombe? Somebody on Philly or Boston? I don't know. Somebody in this draft. Was it Knuppel, chat? Speaking of eras, I don't know. Harper, Flag, somebody. Cedric Coward. We're getting closer, chat. We were talking about Cedric Coward. We were talking about Dylan Harper. I guess. Oh, we were talking about Melo. That's what it was. Shout out. We were talking about Melo. So yeah, I guess point being, if Melo just got drafted into the NBA today, I do think his game, there's just a way that it works in 2025 when you're going to figure out the geometry of that with what we do in basketball now. Like, you have to think Melo was creating all of those shots in the mid-range in a less spaced game. Like, hey, yo, like, obviously, the entire NBA history up until Steph. But I guess, you're telling me that his ability to score in close quarters would not be valuable in 2025 in the spacing game? Like, just Melo's tough shot making is insane. Maybe I don't want to say the best tough shot maker of all time because, you start going into guys like Durant and, I get Larry Bird, I don't know. But, Melo is definitely up there. I mean, also, a guy like Durant maybe is able, there is like a fluidity, like a bit, able to create even just a little bit more space as well, too, in some of his shots. But regardless. Oh, hey, yo, shout out to the halftime crew here for the North Carolina-Syracuse game. A Batman costume, chat? Hey, yo. I mean, anytime there's a Batman costume in the mix, we love it. And they've specifically got him labeled the Dark Knight as well, too. So I don't know if the Dark Knight, that movie's not like a Disney property. So I don't know why, Disney's not just like the Batman, Hey, yo. But shout out. I mean, obviously, for our generation, that is the Batman. And I think, obviously, filmmaking-wise, that is the Batman as well, too. Not the Batman, even though, great movie. Shout out. We love it, obviously. Love Batman. So we're fans of the Batman movie. Shout out Matt Reeves. But, it's not the Dark Knight. And I don't know if we're going to make this official stance now as well, too. But did feel like there was a little bit of a push maybe for, it's like, oh, is this movie going to continue to trend forward and, maybe be a new generation's Dark Knight? And maybe it is still kind of sneaky becoming that, but I don't feel necessarily the vibe on the streets the same type of way. Okay, not to say that the Batman has fallen off, but I don't feel that people have gravitated to it over the Dark Knight necessarily. Again, I think it had its moment. I think it had a really good run. I think it's still an incredibly rewatchable movie, but it is also, a little long as well too. So rewatchability wise, the commitment of that is something. Hey, yo, and I just thought that North Carolina scored, but it was Memphis. That's right. It's halftime, and it's actually Memphis in the halftime highlights. So I was like, whoa, North Carolina, we haven't seen him score in, 2 months. But I guess just us laying eyes on them actually having a touchdown as well, too. You had to time it right with this North Carolina team. But I thought maybe we had a moment there. But no, Memphis Tigers. So shout out. We love a Memphis Tigers touchdown. But, I actually did want to see Belichick have a good season in North Carolina. Is that a hot take? Is that a hot take, Chad? I don't even know if it is at this point, because I guess, again, Belichick maybe hasn't been the most helpful to himself. And I guess, there is obviously that sort of, people in the media always talk about the media, how he reacts to Belichick, but there is just like there's the Illuminati side of the media that is like, feels like Belichick, they don't like him anymore or whatever. It's like, oh, he's not nice to reporters. So it's like, they're going to, I guess, talk about Belichick poorly. So I don't know, maybe it's partly that and partly some of these stories and just, all the confusing stuff. And now it's like, oh, well, the team's not successful as well, too. So there's just going to be a natural conversation that happens about that, regardless of what the rest of the stuff is. But I think all of just the whole tornado of chaos, it was like, I actually kind of wanted this somehow to work out. And just maybe not, there was that like, oh, is North Carolina, like, are they going to be a national title contender? Like, what's this going to be? Like, is Belichick going to just completely turn this around? Like, I didn't even think wasn't necessarily hoping for that. But if there was a really good bowl game that they were in, if Belichick was, even to get to that level that Mac Brown was at a couple years ago, it's like, oh, are they I guess top 15 does get you pretty close to the playoffs. But if they're kind of right in that mix where 18 to 15, good bowl game, maybe they're knocking on the door of the playoffs a couple of years. Like, I think that is fine. And yeah, maybe it's like, okay, the fourth, fifth year of Belichick, we're not like, oh, can we re-sign him till he's 87? But, maybe you're like, this wasn't necessarily the worst experiment in the world. Maybe it got us the respectability. Maybe it sets us up for success with the next guy. Maybe Steven Belichick really is a great coach that we can have take over for him. I don't know. But the experiment obviously has gone the complete other direction and has been a bummer. Because obviously as Colts fans as well too, there is just that natural sort of Manning Brady thing that has definitely not gone in the Colts fans' favor of the post football retirement aspect of it, where it is what it is. And I don't, I guess we could say that we could just, I guess, sit here and be like, yes, no, it doesn't have anything to do with it. Let's take that, like the jury, strike it from the record. But it is one of those things. It's like, well, once it's out there, how do you actually strike it from the record? Like, how am I supposed to actually just forget what I've seen and what I've heard and whatever that, how am I just supposed to replace this information? Just act like it, didn't happen. I guess, maybe there's some areas of life where people do that all the time. But apparently for Bill Belichick, it's getting a little bit more difficult because the conversation now between him and Brady, it's not, I would say it's not close, or just if you have it with people right now, just the knee-jerk reaction is just going to be to say Brady at this point. And again, Belichick, he steps away. I don't know, is he in the Hall of Fame at this point? But we go the Hall of Fame thing. There's going to be a couple moments where we get to look back at Belichick's career and really, again, reaffirm how great he was as a head coach. But it does feel like, unfortunately, this North Carolina season has kind of solidified, and with the way that the last couple of Patriots years played out. And again, end of his career, it's not like he lost Brady when Brady was in year 10 and then Brady at the peak of his, both those guys sort of at the quote unquote peak of their powers. Like, there is that natural sort of progression for Belichick, just, phasing out as a coach. And the breaking news from ESPN said Arch Manning set to start. I was like, wait a second, did he just get benched? Like, what happened? But no, apparently there's concussion protocol there. He was, I think, pulled out of the game last time as well. But maybe we haven't been as locked into Texas football with the Arch Manning struggles. I know it's like, are we going to, tune in to watch Arch Manning struggle? I don't, we don't want to do that, Chad. Hey, yeah, we want to watch the man, of course, play well. So I guess we'll wait till next year to watch Texas. It is what it is. But, yeah, I guess shout out, he will be back this year, back this week. But yeah, I actually did want Belichick to be more successful than not. Hey, hot take at North Carolina, and just for the tenure to be viewed as good, because I guess if he did build a national title program, then it is probably going to be, Belichick is definitely the greatest coach at this time. Like, that would actually be legitimately impressive. A national title contender, like, that's just at any level. Regardless if he's a new coach, you're like, oh, he's the best new coach. But just at any point, but would definitely help reaffirm him as the best coach. And then again, that Manning or that Brady Belichick argument, you'd be like, well, he did the Giants defense, and then that whole Patriots early run, and then now North Carolina. Like, he's done this over and over again. It's undeniable. And I guess just for him to have success post Brady, it felt like, and obviously is his last opportunity for it, because I guess maybe the other part about why we wanted it to be successful in North Carolina is, it was not successful in New England without Tom Brady, unfortunately. And yes, he did have the Giants defense, but it was not also really, it was successful in Cleveland. Like, I guess, comparatively to what they've had, yes, it's successful. But again, it's not the Belichick all-time great coach level successful. It's a good part of the story. And, again, if he progresses, obviously to what he had, and maybe has a couple more years of success without, well, I think he had a couple of that, what we just said. But, if he had a couple more years of success, then maybe, it would view those Browns years a little bit differently and the emergence of him as a head coach. But now he just kind of has, a Brady-less run where it's like, yeah, he was pretty good. Like, he had some moments and clearly showed the defensive abilities at times and the sort of, the ability to get some guys to overachieve. But overall, I wouldn't say it was necessarily, again, to the level that we've even seen some of the other coaches be able to achieve, systematically in the way that they've built their organizations out. So, and I think that is college-wise as well, too, another thing that is that the coach does have more control. And now there is, the whole NIL stuff as well too, and maybe these general managers and these people that are conducting that stuff obviously are a little bit more in lead in the talent recruitment aspect of it, but still, organizationally, the coach is the lead figure in college and can be in the NFL is a lot of the times, but there is, and maybe it's more of a public face in the NFL because you still have a GM, and there is the rare cases where maybe you have I guess, but even McVay is obviously, I'm sure super impactful in decision making, but it's not like Les Snead is just, let me do everything that Sean McVay wants. I'm sure that guy's got his own say as well too. So, I think maybe like Shanahan, John Lynch, you get like maybe a couple, but for the most part, even if the coach is the lead, I guess, we obviously got to say Reed as well too, but that's another one where they have, Reed with the coaching and Veach with the GMing. It's obviously been a successful duo there, and they've been able to balance the responsibilities for each other, and it doesn't necessarily seem like one kind of steps on the other one's toes too much. And it doesn't seem like, again, Reed is in a Belichick level, let me just obviously be the GM and run the team. So, yes, obviously, he has Mike Lombardi there to help him out. Shout out, from the GMing standpoint to help with the talent stuff and all that, help navigate the NIL world. But Belichick's ability to actually establish just a good organization without Tom Brady would have, I think that's what we're trying to, that would have been what we wanted to see in North Carolina. Like we're saying, I don't think it needed to be a national championship team. Did it even need to win an ACC title? Who knows? Again, Miami's got talent. Florida State I guess all these teams look good. So maybe just the ACC being kind of frauds as well too. It's like, North Carolina fits right in, but I don't even know if they needed to get to that level. Maybe a ACC title game, but just the competency in the organization where it's like, oh yeah, you know what? His ability to get in there, he showed that, but his ability to get into a team and right the ship would have been something nice, I guess, to see. So, I don't know. Belichick, he spits game off the court now, not on the court. Maybe that's all. Maybe that's what it is, Chad. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Belichick is still spitting game. He's just, the energy is focused elsewhere. And I don't know if he's in the spitting game phase of it at this point. I think maybe he's, I guess, I don't know. Depends on what term you want to use. But, clearly the X's and O's are, successful somewhere. Just apparently not being translated onto the play calling sheet. Again, play calls. Maybe other things on maybe, unfortunately, play call sheet full something else. A black light on this situation. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm a fan of Belichick talk for right now. I think we're stumbling into sketchy territory. But do we have to take a break at some point? Fire up this movie? We did promise a movie in the thumbnail, so I guess we're not, of course, bummed out to watch the movie. I guess we're just having a good time watching Bill Belichick now all of a sudden. Hey, pause. It is what it is. Maybe Jordan Hudson needs to be on the sideline. A little, why did I almost say Carly Rae Jepsen? What's the name of the Colts owner, Chat? Hey, yo, shout out. Irsay, Gordon, Carly, shout out. We're not being disrespectful. I'm just unaware and going to correct it right now. Carly, I'm going to say Gordon Irsay, I think, Chat. We'll look it up here. And hopefully it gets... Oh, Irsay Gordon, shout out. We're trying, Chat. We got it now, though. So we'll remember it going forward. It's not we'll do our best. We will remember it. Hopefully, I'm not saying we'll remember it the next time, but at some point, check back. We will be remembering the name. It is what it is. So, end of the third, Cavs 77, Raptors 81. Hey, yo, Chat. We stumble into break. Screeching halt. Stomp on the brakes, I guess, as we head to break. I don't think we rear-ended anybody in front of us. It was a close call, though, Chat. One of those, whoa, situations. So, I don't know. Maybe Cavs a little bit like that as well. How are the Raptors 1-4? What games did they win? Hey, yo. This is, the math is not math in here for that team, but... Hey, yo. So, we'll be back, Chat. We got to queue up a little Vampire in Brooklyn. Halloween trick-or-treat season. Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, Vampires, 30 years later, a classic. It'll be on our screens. If you want to follow along with us, of course, you can throw it on yours as well, too. Whoa! Chat, IT just cut us off! Hey, yo, somebody's gonna get hurt. Okay, I guess that's a sign. We'll be back. Okay, chat, we are back. Movie fired up. Fourth quarter for NBA Cup action. Raptors Cavs underway. Shout out, of course, Wes Craven. I guess we'll get into the people involved in this movie. I guess we got to decide. We probably want to go a little sound on for this movie. I mean, we can't miss Eddie Murphy line, chat. It is what it is. But, we were mentioning, of course, obviously, as you would, the people involved in the movie. Iconic cast. Eddie Murphy. I mean, any movie that he's going to be in, of course, iconic in that type of way. And, obviously him as a performer is one of those guys that does just bring the level of performance quality to a role, regardless of sort of what the movie is as well. There is just going to be a baseline of comedy and, Eddie Murphy as well, too. He's shown over his career the drama chops, obviously, in this movie, top tier. But the drama, the actual acting chops, per se, have also been, when he's needed to go into his bag, they've been top tier as well, too. You could say legitimately talented actor as well as comedian as well. I mean, I guess we haven't necessarily done like a stand-up, we haven't necessarily done like a stand-up comedian actor ranking. But he would have a legitimate case for, number one. I'm trying to think, there's obviously now a stand-up that's won the Oscar. I guess, did Smurfy start in stand-up? Again, I don't want to know just like the guys that started in stand-up as well, too. No disrespect, I guess we're going to sit here and set the rules. But, speaking of Eddie Murphy as well, too, of course, R.I.P. Charlie Murphy was also involved in the writing of this movie as well. So to be able to, get the, obviously the acting and the comedic writing for both of them is top tier. And, their work is obviously iconic stuff that we love to go back to. But again, this cast for Craven specifically, who, as we've said before, we are still getting into the horror slasher, where does this movie fall in that movie, in that sort of field. But, Craven is a name that is, of course, synonymous, I guess, with those types of movies, if we're labeling them correctly in the genre. But, they also have sort of those, those sort of sleeper casts as well, too. I mean, as a lot of those movies do. And it really isn't until, I guess, we not necessarily knowing all of his movies, the cast of all of his movies off top. But this, I guess, would be just difficult in any movie to be able to top as a cast. But I guess would probably be his first, like, maybe even big names as well, too, major. So I know I'm probably leaving one out. And, he follows, I think Scream is his next movie. So that's a fun couple of movies run. I think it's Vampire in Brooklyn, Scream 1 and Scream 2. I mean, really ripping him off there, chat. Pause. But, the Scream cast is, again, iconic as well, too. Very successful outside of the actual movies. But, I think this is a little bit of a different level where, again, you have Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett. I mean, even in the supporting roles, of course, Witherspoon and Hardison. Am I saying the last name right? White Man Can't Jump. Iconic in this movie as well, too. So just a lot of familiar names, but again, just the success level and the sort of recognizability is actually, probably maybe the most of Craven's career as well. I guess if we're just thinking, the Friday the 3rd, is he Friday? Hey, chat, I guess. Shout out. Let's see what we've got here. Wes Craven filmography. To double check all of his movies. Yeah, okay. Swamp Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street. So that is, this is us, again, not knowing. This is Jason, because Friday the 13th is, this is Freddy. Okay, so Jason is Friday the 13th. We've managed it, like we've said before, Michael Myers, Halloween, we're locked in. It is what it is. But again, those movies are actually, I don't want to say those movies are actually good, but the critics will step up for those movies. I think the critics will step up for these movies as well in sort of a retrospective cult classic-y type of way. But maybe they had to sort of earn the respect over time as well too. So yeah, I'm not seeing a movie here that would necessarily have like and again, obviously my knowledge of some of these casts as well too. I'm not trying to, I'm sure everybody in here has some awesome careers as well, and maybe just their familiarity in projects that we have seen is a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously a little bit of a cult classic-y type run there from The Nightmare on Elm Street, all the way up until you get to Vampire in Brooklyn. And then kind of has a little bit of the second half run with Vampire in Brooklyn, Scream, Red Eye. Hey, yo. Rachel McAdams, Cillian Murphy, that's pretty good as well, too. Obviously Murphy now an Oscar winner. I guess, I don't know if he's a stand-up comedian. But in terms of the fame level, Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Drew Barrymore, what do we classify there? Just the runtime in the movie. Skeet Ulrich as well is, pretty iconic. But I would say pound for pound, if it's just like cast in any movie, obviously the Vampire Brooklyn cast is the most versatile cast. It could be up there with the most versatile. And that is the greatness of Eddie Murphy as well, too. Like we're saying, if you have to have him be in a dramatic role, then he can be really successful in that. Because this is post Boomerang as well, too. Boomerang is 92, if we're getting the year right for that. Yeah, 1992. So, I mean, that just for him being charming and a very, leading man on screen. I guess, maybe that's the better way to phrase it as well, too. And not to say that, to retread and say that he's not a good actor, but more so than just the acting as well. He does legitimately have like a real, A+, like top notch leading man presence that I think does go underlooked as well, too. And again, there is a gravitas that he was able to have in some of these movies as well. So like even this one, which, again, if you look at like the Metacritic score, it's going to be a little low. It's not necessarily going to be well reviewed. It does have, obviously sort of the corniness in the moments and in the acting and some of that stuff. But again, just to have Eddie Murphy and to see him, maybe to reference again some of his other roles, like there is a weight that he does have in his movies, again, from the comedic side of things that I think does, again, present his movies a little bit more serious, where not to say that, again, you get Will Ferrell in a movie, that the movie doesn't have, sort of like an instant iconic element because of who Will Ferrell is. And he is one as well, too, that as time has gone on as well, you've seen his versatility. I mean, shocker, the guys that are just great comic actors, if you can hit this greatness as a comic actor, you may be able to, be a great just actor in general. Like Sandler as well, we've started to see. But again, I feel like those guys are pursuing that, I should say, a little bit later now in their careers. And it's sort of a second half of the career emergence where, again, you see Eddie Murphy in movies, in the 80s as well. Yes, obviously comic movies, obviously comic parts, but again, there is a real leading man element that in Trading Places, yes, he is, starting off being like a goofy, eccentric character at the beginning of that one, and then has to sort of, again, gets sort of groomed into the lifestyle that he, is presented with there in that movie. But, is able, like we're saying, to capture, all of the moments. Beverly Hills Cop is, again, those movies are, and it's why they're great. And not to say that the movies in the 2000s were great, but why they're great in a different sort of way is they are a little bit more complete movies than just sort of all the way sort of silly, goofy comedies. And it's great that we sort of in some ways had that era as well too. Just this, I'm not saying that everything again was a make joke wise back then, but it's just like, okay, there was this run of absurdist comedy and just over the top eccentric stuff. Obviously, again, we did get some iconic rewatchable movies from that time period, but I guess in some moments as well too. Oh, chat, speaking of Eddie Murphy on screen, of course, classic vampire antics, gonna get shot with some bullets here, but is gonna, of course, instant spoiler alert for the next 2 seconds here, pause, is, I guess no spoiler alert, we didn't spoil it in time, is gonna, of course, not get affected by the gunshots. He is just daylight chat is or garlic, but fortunately, the Glock is just gonna go right through the vest, unless that's like a secret Kevlar vest. There is actually probably a deleted scene to this vampire in Brooklyn movie where he does suit up in the John Wick suit beforehand, where, you know, John Wick's got just like the normal suit. Oh, Chad, he just rips the heart straight out. Hey, yo, savage. So, you know, hey, yo, that's the Wes Craven sort of absurdist, violency type stuff that we see. Because again, I guess that's, you know, obviously crazy stuff, but I wouldn't say, you know, presented in the most, you know, heavy pause type of way. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but, hey, yo, I guess point being, you know, again, Murphy, obviously, hey, yo, great actor. So, you know, you don't need us to say it, but if somebody else had to, I guess we'll be up next, chat. We'll get it. We'll get in line to say that, yes, Eddie Murphy, you know, obviously, I guess in a good way, but pause. But, hey, yo, maybe different visual? I don't know. But either way, point being, you know, shout out. Great stuff. Iconic role for the fact that it does have, I guess, sort of the holiday association. I don't know if holiday is the right term, but, you know, it does have the holiday association as well, too, with it being a movie that you can watch in a certain time of year, which, again, Eddie Murphy's got iconic movies. And in some ways, you know, Beverly Hills Cop and stuff, those do feel like great, like just summer movies. And they were great summer box office movies. And we did have, of course, Beverly Hills Cop 4 being released in the summer, which got the momentum for those old movies sparked back up a little bit. And again, in sort of that same sort of time frame as well, too. But this, you know, again, has that sort of rewatchability in that yearly aspect as well, which, you know, I'm sure it's been talked about, but Halloween is, you know, that and Christmas are at this point, I would say, by far and away, the two best movie holidays. And really kind of the only two, I guess, you know, Valentine's Day, you could get, I guess it is a little like Halloween, you can get a little broad with just being like, okay, any sort of horror, kind of scary-ish movie can classify. You go, okay, Valentine's Day, any sort of rom-com type story, maybe, you know, drama type stuff can kind of qualify. But, you know, there is, and you start getting specific with the holidays as well, too. There is, of course, a ton of, you know, random potential as well. I think maybe you get a little, I don't know, a little repetitive with what the potential is, where, again, the vibes of Christmas, the vibes of Halloween, this stuff, they're very distinct. So they do make for, again, the sort of obvious settings like that as well. But yeah, hey, yo, chat. Oh, chat. And then we got the conversion into the I mean, the early, you know, early Coogler stuff here with, I don't know if this was necessarily, you know, Steinfeld Jordan level, but we got, you know, Murphy dripping a little tongue. Hey, yo. But unfortunately for our guy, he is, well, unfortunately, I guess he goes ghoul status, chat, not necessarily vampire status. I forget what happens to him at the end of the movie, but yeah, ghoul status is, you know, not as charming as vampire status as we learn. You know, the use, because a lot of vampires, they do, of course, turn the other people into vampires. I don't know, you know, you start getting into some of maybe like the TV shows, I don't know, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or whatever. I don't know how they use ghouls and stuff in that, but it is a, you know, an expansion of the lore a little bit as well, too. I guess not, you know, creating stuff, but on screen, you know, the interpretations, chat. I don't know if we have to Google best, you know, I don't know, like best Google. Maybe that's not what we want to search, but I feel like it would maybe rank up there as well, too. And like we said, you know, shout out, I've got to get the name right here. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But yeah, Kadeem Herdison is oh wait, wrong actor, chat. Hey, yo, chat, we're like we said, it is what it is. You know, we don't know everybody's names. We've got to figure it out, and we don't even know people's names from the movies. Oh, chat, hey, yo, unless it's just an updated picture. Shout out. We're like, obviously, you know, he would, you know, just be the same as well, too. So yeah, hey, yo, it is what it is, chat. What do you do? But of course they're going to update the picture as time goes. Shout out. I mean, obviously the man's looking great. I mean, you know, perfect goatee situation here, you know, rocking the hat at the finest level. But yeah, I mean, iconic sort of bit part guy as well too, which maybe, if we're stealing from the rewatchables, maybe puts him into that pause, that guy sort of territory, but in a good way, where we're like, wait a second, again, do we actually kind of have it locked in what this actor's name is as well too, where rose to prominence. Dwayne Wade, chat. Ayo, shout out. I was gonna say, I don't remember him playing Dwayne Wade in a movie, but yes, it was in the TV show, not the Dwayne Wade biopic, though. Who knows? I don't know what the odds are of that happening as well too. Yeah, chat. Biker Boys. Hey, yo, Biker Boys was kind of a summer throw on in the background movie as well. That is a fun Mount Rushmore of just movies to have in the collection to be appearing in. If you got White Men Can't Jump, Vampire in Brooklyn, Biker Boys, I mean, I guess that's, 3 out of the 4, but still, I mean, you're really checking a lot of boxes there with the movies, with the types of movies they want to get. And I guess School Days as well too. You throw School Days in there, chat. You go School Days, White Men Can't Jump, Vampire in Brooklyn, and what was the other one that we said? Biker Boys? Yeah, chat. I mean, you get a lot of mileage out of those 4 movies. Make no mistake. I'm telling you, Biker Boys is like a sneaky, and there is not a, I guess, hey, yo, maybe we just don't know. We need to do more biker movie research, but there is, I feel like maybe the sporty element for the bikes as well too. Maybe that movie is just like, we can't touch this movie. It is what it is. They've just executed it perfectly. But I think that is a possibility as well too. And Witherspoon, chat, ayo, just carrying the first quarter of this movie. I mean, again, we do get some Murphy scenes. Obviously, again, Murphy is, there he is right there. And Bassett as well too. Once she gets, of course, going on screen pause, she's obviously a force to be reckoned with. Complimentary, but the Witherspoon performance is iconic in every role. I'm sure, yeah, I mean, we've said before, but obviously just one of the favorite guys to have appear in a movie. You're just like, okay, if Witherspoon is in this movie again, there's gonna be an element of you're gonna go back and in a lot of the movies that he's in as well too. Again, you get like this Boomerang, Eddie Murphy obviously, or I guess maybe not obviously, but Eddie Murphy, I think, is, pretty a guy that really looked up to Witherspoon, really idolized him. So I think he made an effort to have him in the projects that he was in. But between those and, you get like Soul Plane in there as well too. And again, like Soul Plane, you'll watch the whole thing, no problem. But also if you're just watching scenes as well too. I mean, there is basically no movie that he is in that he doesn't just steal the absolute show, where I don't know if a guy that, and again, I say this in a respectful way, but a guy that maybe wasn't a leading man, and maybe that is also, again, just opportunity, all the different stuff. Not to say that Witherspoon, given certain leading man roles, again, wouldn't have emerged in a different type of way, but I don't know if there was a bit part guy that legitimately could steal, again, an entire movie. On just like speaking of Boomerang, it's literally the perfect example. It's one of the great heat check performances of all time, but I think Soul Plane is not far off of that as well too, where you just go like, it's absolutely, and up there with the first thing you remember. Again, like Boomerang, such a great movie that you just think of the movie, I guess, how great it is when you think of it. But or maybe there's a couple other scenes as well too that come to my first pause. Speaking of chat, hey yo, but Witherspoon, like we're saying, just the on-screen tour de force that you get in a performance is just absolute A+ in everything. And like I'm saying, you could go any sort of, who's the main guy that was in a movie for a couple minutes and you're like, oh man, he really threw heat. Like, I don't know if it's like, like a Philip Seymour Hoffman type, rest in peace, or somebody like that, where it's okay, yeah, that guy, could have won a best. And again, not to say that Witherspoon didn't have the ultimate best man type potential from an Oscar standpoint, but again, you would have said, at least from the roles that we saw as well too, in the leading aspect. And chat, ayo, Alan Payne as well too. I don't know why we almost clicked on his name when we were looking for Hairdison. Shout out. That was just panic. Ayo, we were literally watching Blue Hill Avenue the other night. Shout out again, Tubi. Ayo, I guess Vampire in Brooklyn on Tubi. Vampire Brooklyn, the most available Halloween movie right now, I think. It's on Paramount, it's on Tubi, it's on Pluto. You can't miss it, chat. It is what it is. So, I mean, like I said, fire it up. Shout out. But that's another, I don't know if this is like a, we would have seen this cast in another movie, but like I'm saying, I mean, what movie could this cast have not have played in? Like, you could even switch the roles, and Alan Payne could be the lead man in the movie, and Eddie Murphy could go in and steal a movie. I mean, but, like, I guess to go back to the Witherspoon point, Eddie Murphy, I guess, like Showgirls, he wins if I'm getting the name of that movie right, the movie that he wins the best supporting actor Oscar in, is a little bit of that situation where a couple of scenes, he's obviously just really fantastic in that movie. But again, it's Eddie Murphy, and it's like, okay, you move him into the offense where now all of a sudden he's the third, and not to say that he would have been the third best player in the movie, but now it's like he's the third guy on the offense sort of responsibility wise. And yes, if he's going to have the looks, he's going to really take advantage of them. So Witherspoon was a guy that, again, is sort of always, if we were going, I guess, the Maxey sort of conversation, or like, I know Klay Thompson is like the go-to role guy that gets brought up, but a little bit of that Klay Thompson type. Or I was trying to maybe think, is there a, I feel like Iguodala, maybe not total. I feel like Witherspoon better in his, even though Iguodala, finals MVP, obviously great defense against, I guess subjectively, trying great effort, we should say, against LeBron in the finals, literally won for trying. One finals MVP for trying to guard LeBron. Shout out. And, percentage wise, obviously he made him work as well too, if you go back and watch the tape. But yes, LeBron also proved that he is a great player. But I guess, shout out, like we were saying, Witherspoon's ability to just go in and take over a movie. I don't know if anybody has ever really matched that as well too. And again, that is also, obviously opportunity, Hollywood, all that different stuff. But, I don't know if it's the whatever sort of side of the things, but, and I mean, just, like he's, I shout out, he's, the Vampires got gold coins. I mean, I'm sure they're working for Witherspoon as a landlord in this apartment complex. So I don't know I guess Witherspoon wasn't the landlord in Coming to America, but I guess, we got to double check. I don't think he is in that movie, but is that an excuse to just go back and watch that movie? Because again, I feel like is he in just the two Eddie Murphys? I'm trying to think, but there is, he could have been sneaky hanging out in that movie. Oh yeah, he's the dad in Friday. Of course. We are slacking here on naming his performances. I mean, that is, again, speaking of just Mount Rushmore movies for rewatchability. You go Friday, I guess Vampire Brooklyn back in the mix again, but, it might not even make the cut this time. If you just go Boomerang, Friday, Soul Plane, and what was the other one we were mentioning as well too? I guess, so Vampire Brooklyn, shout out, we're back. Oh, House Party, chat? Okay. We got to maybe reconsider the list. But, yeah, again, he is obviously a legend. So, shout out, rest in peace. And he will, again, just be a guy that will literally, he will live on in whatever way we're able to, again, sort of, I guess, share pop culture information with the next generation. Chat. If it's like a, I don't know, like a niece-nephew situation or whatever, but it'll just be like, hey, even if it's like, last words, like, watch more John Witherspoon movies. And then, I feel like that's just good advice to go out with. But, yeah, of course, like we were saying, one of the best heat check guys, like a Mark Guire maybe, but I guess he was on the Pistons teams that won the title, because Dantley, I think, was the one that got traded for Aguirre. So yeah, number 1 overall pick, like that could be a, like Witherspoon, number 1 overall pick back in the day, but it's like finds his role as like a, again, in a really good way, as sort of a, role player bench guy for the Pistons teams there. So yeah, he was all-star in Dallas, 20, upper 20s points per game, some MVP votes even. Yeah, you could see Witherspoon getting some MVP votes as well. So, and, again, efficient, good stats, all the stuff. 20 points a game for his career, 48%. Shout out. So, obviously, killed his career once he went to the Clippers. But before that, Dallas, Detroit was having a good run, individual success, and then team success as well, too. So, and, again, if Witherspoon had to carry a comedy, I think, again, obviously, he could have done it. Hey, yo, if that was the role he was choosing to go more down that path as well too. Again, if saying, opportunities and just the right scripts as well too for wherever he would have been at his career, being available for him. But yeah, hey yo, one of the, if we didn't say it before, chat, one of the greats. Like if like Team USA Mello, I don't know. We'll find. Again, there is maybe there is no heat check guy in the NBA. That maybe that's the problem. There just is no heat check guy that's as good as Witherspoon. It is what it is. We haven't gotten one yet, chat. I don't know. Little Wembanyama-ish maybe, but yeah, this is again another iconic. Just when he's on screen, anytime it is just probably the most fun part of the movie. And like we're saying, Eddie Murphy is when he goes into his bits, like there is just not a funnier guy just doing doing bits in a movie. But Witherspoon is like maybe literally the only other one. Like I'm not even being hyperbolic. Like if we were just going legitimately funniest people in movies, I don't know how he is left out of the conversation for number one. If we're opening up pause to like the lead guys and the major supporting guys as well too. Like we're saying again, you name the iconic people: Will Ferrell, Sandler, Richard Pryor. I guess if we're comparing the movie careers or whatever. But again, I feel like Witherspoon is pound for pound, just literally. I don't know if he misses for a joke. So you gotta, again, obviously respect. Speaking of efficiency, respect the efficiency of what he was able to do. It would literally be like if somebody was like 70% from the 3-point line, just like an incomparable number. Like not even as good as Maxi's season this year is. I still feel like not even quite the level. Be like, who was like 18 minutes a game and 60% from three, just like didn't miss and completely automatic. I'm not sure. Steve Kerr, hey yo. But shout out Steve Kerr and shout out Toronto, chat. I guess once this updates, 2-4. In 1-0 in group play for the NBA Cup. So you love to see it. Lakers, Grizzlies getting underway. And I guess we got some finals here. Ooh, Boston did end up winning by 1 point. So they were able to fight off the Philly comeback at 10 pause. But for the game, Maxey with 26. I mean, obviously you're going to have the decent stats with it being a close game. And, Boston maybe starting to find a little rhythm as well, too. Wouldn't be super surprising. Again, are they going to be a bad team? Or are they going to kind of be a little cycle-ish? Maybe they're not the most consistent team in the league. Shocker. They don't have Jason Tatum. But now back to 500, they might settle into that range for the rest of the year. And again, Philly was also due for a loss as well, too. We keep forgetting, yes, they are undefeated, but it's like, oh, yeah, they are actually undefeated. It means they haven't lost a game. So they will probably actually lose a game on the scoreboard at some point. And at this point as well, too, their only loss is by 1 point. So I guess point differential stuff is still going to be pretty good. And that's just going to, be a decent one on the team scorecard for a while as well. And Embiid 6 for 13. Not playing too bad for the game. 7 for 7 for the free throw line. 20 points, 6 rebounds. 4 assists, so he did maybe go on a little bit of a run here. We might have to go back and watch this one once the replay hits. I guess shout out. Maybe we'll sign up for Prime at some point. But yeah, Maxey with 26, and then VJ with 17, Grimes with 16, Simons with 19, 7 for 21 is a little bit tough. Jaylen Brown 32, in White with 15. Yeah, Pritchard finishing the game pause with okay stats. And Hauser, 1 for 6 from the field. Could have, obviously used a couple more shots from him. I guess, well, not really, but, again, just in terms of overall performance, there is definitely a little bit of a level to go up there as well too. So yeah, not necessarily a crazy shifting result, but still good win for Boston. I guess maybe just to compare to Chicago, I don't know if they're proving that they're more legit than Philly. Hey yo, but maybe it's more of a New York thing as well too, where I don't know if this is another major sort of takeaway from the early part of the season. But stay tuned, chat. We got I guess an unintended teaser. Hey yo, we got to switch this game real quick. I forgot. Shout out Raptors getting the we just turned off the movie. Hey yo, it is what it is. We'll be back. Okay, movie fired back up. Switching TVs, chat. We will get another game going in the background here. Stay tuned. Coming up next, chat. Pause. Hey yo, what is the big Eastern Conference takeaway from week 1? Let me think. Would it be the number 1 takeaway? I guess everybody panicking about the Magic is definitely up there as well too. Oh, come on, League Pass. Stop lagging here. What do we got? We got Jazz versus the Sun, and we got Blazers. Ooh, Blazers Denver is a must-watch, chat. Hey, yo, speaking of, we got to keep an eye on our West Group C opponents. Scout those out for when the Spurs face them. But that's a pretty good matchup as well, too. I guess, this Lakers game is on Prime, so that's blocked. I guess give us a little free trial on the League Pass to start the year. Just to, be like, this Prime broadcast is so quality. We have to sign up. But they just assume. They're like, yeah, you already have it. That's why we have the games, because you've all had Prime for so long and just been buying a bunch of stuff off there. But I guess it's going to be Denver versus Portland. Wait, that game should be starting up right now. Okay, I was going to say, it's got the pregame signed still. But start time is past now. So we should be good to have that game firing up any minute. Ooh, shout out Shaedon Sharpe getting the image. So we got Jokic versus Shaedon Sharpe as the top player pause face-off scenario. So that is a good sign for Shaedon Sharpe, I guess, who has we haven't seen his stats, but we saw a couple of highlights that the Blazers had edited up pretty cool. So I was like, okay, that means Shaedon Sharpe has got to be doing something right. Pause. But I think he has definitely been better. I mean, he's one of our guys as well, too, so we should know. But, okay, maybe we shouldn't chat. Hey, 32 and 23. We'll just stick to the well-crafted highlights of his game, and that will help influence us positively in his, standing as a player. But, obviously he's still able to get points, but the efficiency just hasn't quite worked itself out, and it's even taken a step backwards. I mean, this is, legitimately college-level stuff here, chat. Hey, 17.8 field goal attempts and 17 points. That's tough, chat. That's tough. I mean, 18.5 and 15.3 is not great, but 7 more field goal attempts than points is brutal. I don't know when the last time, if we get, specific here and go, how many times does that happen when a player shoots over 17 field goals a game? But I think even 15 would be an interesting mark. Fortunately, he hasn't, I guess, missed a free throw in this game or this year so far, but it's not like he's getting to the free throw line a ton as well too. So still kind of an active rebounder, but hopefully he is able to get his offensive efficiency turned around as well too. But the big takeaway from the Eastern Conference is early on anyways. I do think that and shout out again, we got to at least recognize that the New York Knicks and that the Cleveland Cavaliers are still waiting to get fully healthy as teams in, major players returning. But maybe Milwaukee is just the most, and I say this carefully, I'm not saying they're necessarily the best team in the Eastern Conference. Maybe I'm not admitting to it quite yet. There is definitely that possibility, though. So I do think what I am going to say, though, is that there is a certainty to Milwaukee that I think they have that some of these other Eastern Conference teams don't. And again, like Cleveland, there is that sort of playoff wait and see element to the team, and we do have to respect what they were able to accomplish in the regular season last year. But, and like we were looking in, right before the season started, there is precedent for multiple teams winning 60 games in a row, back-to-back seasons. So it's not like, if OKC is going to win multiple 60 games in a row years, it's not like the other teams, Boston's going to take a step back because, again, they don't have Tatum, but it's not like Cleveland has to take a step back from the basketball math sort of aspect of it. There can, again, be the multiple teams having great multiple regular seasons in a row. But it wouldn't also be surprising if they trended backwards a little bit. Again, just from a win-loss total standpoint, maybe it is actually a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, they were a second-round playoff team last year. And yes, there were some expectations there for them to be a little bit higher. But they also, I don't know if we're necessarily more feared than a second-round playoff team as well, too, if that is a good way to phrase it. So I don't know if this regular season record would be in some ways even slightly more reflective of what they were as a team, more so than a 65 win team. Again, not, I guess it is what it is, but again, that's sort of great territory as well too. Though again, not every 60 plus win team obviously wins a title, but regardless, point being, are we more sure what they are, I guess is my point, than Milwaukee, outside of the fact that they're injured, and that is kind of the thing at this point, is we don't really know what the full version of the team is. Pause. And same with the Knicks. So maybe, again, talking it out. We talk stuff out here, chat. It is what it is. Who knows? I guess how important that will be. The fact that they do have that certainty locked in 5 games into the year, because again, it is a long season. Pause. And at the end of the day, they are very. There's a very fine line for them being that competitive team. That is, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And it is literally, like Giannis as well too, which, again, I don't know. It's like, how many ways can we think about the MVP argument and the greatness of Jokic and Giannis? And I'm sure the thought experiment of, we replace Giannis with this star player and this team is worse. It's like, yes, I'm, not necessarily something that, again, is something that we haven't thought of before, but it's like, okay, you really do think about it. And even as good as Shea is scoring and as efficient as he is, and as much as we've grown to really respect his game historically as well too, not to say that we were underrating it, but just to continue to be like, actually, yes, this is, like a legitimately true greatness from the guard spot that is starting to form here. If this is a year-over-year thing, like it is showing to be. But the value that Giannis provides to that team, obviously, and we were looking at some of the Wemby stats, trying to be like, okay, is this, how great of a start to the season is this? I was trying to see if he was leading the league in like PER and stuff because of the two-way stuff. And I was like, him over Jokic, just some of these advanced stats, like how crazy is that? And then I looked it up. It's like Giannis actually has better advanced stats than Wemby this year. And I'm not even, again, mad at that because Giannis has been a beast. And I would still, be hesitant, even as a Spurs fan, to say, I'm not saying I would trade Wemby for Giannis. Make no mistake. Again, we wouldn't trade Wemby for anybody. We're just in for the experiment, in for the journey at this point with him as a player as well too. I think that is another thing, because I saw a clip, speaking of the Knicks, I guess we'll get back to him at some point, but there was a clip of some Knicks fan asking other Knicks fans, would you trade Cat and Brunson for Wemby? Would we trade both of these top players for Wembanyama at this point, just with the potential that he has? And a lot of them were saying no, that yes, Wemby is obviously a great individual talent, and raises the ceiling in a way that maybe individually even Cat and Brunson together don't do, but still the idea of achieving the goal with them as the players is still something that New York fans are bought into. And I guess obviously it's easy right now for Spurs fans to buy into it, but I guess just in the conversation, no, we wouldn't trade him for anybody just because of that element as well too, even if it was a little, I guess, sketchy, but easy to say now that he has. And that really has, I guess, nothing to do with Giannis, but point being, I guess, yes, the trade wouldn't happen, but in terms of the instant stuff in the league, obviously, hot take, we'd have to really obviously give Giannis his credit and probably say that Giannis is better than Wembanyama, and Jokic is probably still better than Wembanyama. Is it, the list maybe shortened to those two guys, and that's awesome? Yes, but regardless, the point is still, Giannis is incredibly dominant. And just, again, that alone, if we're now looking at Wemby in the West going, well, the Spurs, yes, the team, and the Spurs team is better than, or I guess has the potential to be better than Milwaukee. We would probably, as an NBA community, tend to want to have the Spurs, core as a roster, as the actual roster, more so than the Milwaukee roster. Like, you put Giannis on San Antonio. Like, if we made that if we were trying to win the title this year, again, I guess, like I'm saying, the commitment to actually, could Wemby win the title this year? I would just, let's just see what happens, I guess. But Giannis is just the better bet. It is what it is. And you go, oh man, Giannis and Steph Castle and Dylan Harper, that's a crazy stuff. So, I'm talking, and I guess the idea that we still get Wemby and Giannis, even though actually it's like that is a weird, do we have to just like a quick halt real quick? Because I haven't even thought about that again with the fact that the Spurs have won every game so far, and the Bucks, I guess, we're talking about them as well too. So, it makes sense, but they've been, again, a little bit better than maybe we would have thought vibes-wise, starting up the season off as well, too. Maybe it's a good thing that trade didn't happen. And, again, you look at Milwaukee now, and it's like, yeah, this is actually a great situation for Giannis to be in. I mean, again, we were saying that competitively it's still going to be close in the Eastern Conference, but like I'm saying, the path is starting to look like, okay, maybe a little more favorable than we even thought. And the Spurs, again, that's even the more crazy one where, I don't know, maybe Milwaukee's like, oh man, what if we had Dylan Harper and Steph Castle? But I guess even thinking about it as well too, that's such a credit to Brian Wright, because I think that was something that could have happened. I actually think that if Milwaukee was going to bite, it would have been for that number 2 pick. And if there would have been a holdup, it would have been because the Spurs didn't, and I think it was said specifically for that player. Again, knowing obviously Cooper Flag was going number 1, but I guess there was still who was the third? I guess Edgecombe was the third. So there was, and Bailey was the other guy, in the mix, hype-wise, the prospect stuff, all that. But, they were specifically kind of targeting Harper early on, and the reason they weren't going to trade that pick is because they wanted to take him specifically as a player. And if you're going to, trade that pick for literally anybody, Giannis is perfect. So I'm not, sitting here saying I'm mad that trade didn't happen. I'm actually saying, again, it's crazy that with the contracts and, again, just the core and this group of guys, like, it's kind of fun that trade didn't happen, and I don't know if it would happen now. Like, again, as good as Giannis is, you just kind of want to see what this Spurs situation is and the flexibility that you have when you draft your own guys as well, too, and what that provides from a team-building standpoint. But I guess the point being, Milwaukee, we know what they are right now. We know the spacing and the three-point shooting around Giannis and what the recipe is for that going into a game. And to be honest, again, this win, obviously, well, not to be honest, but that win that they had against Golden State the other night, hot take, but a win that I don't know if I thought that they would have had without Giannis. Again, I think, like I'm saying, we all think that, yes, with Giannis, they're going to be competitive against anybody. But I think we also kind of, and yes, he's has injury stuff as well too, but we kind of think of him as a guy that's going to play a lot of games. So they could win 50-some, they're just going to have an insane record when Giannis is on the court and drop some of those games, of course, against maybe some good teams. And then some of the games that he misses, they have a tough record as well too. But again, a little Jokic-y as well, where yes, when Jokic plays, they're probably going to be that 50-plus win-win percentage when he is out there and he's able to play enough games to get them to that mark. But without him, again, the role guys did, and the veterans that they had as well too, where that has, they have had a little bit more, especially with Holiday and Middleton, I guess, really, if we go back to that time, the ability to sustain without Giannis, even, I guess maybe not playoffs, but still regular season, you go out there and you have those type of veterans, you're like, yeah, we can, survive for a night if those are our two best players. But this was a roster where it's like, okay, they really need that like last piece of the puzzle to really make the rest of the guys make sense, because there is a supporting player element that they all have. But again, they showed, I think, an extra level of that individual creativity and ability to, I guess, I don't remember, the score was not necessarily like a lock-in on defense type score, but, again, there was an ability to, I guess, get the necessary stops that they were able to have in that game against Golden State. But again, not to say that they're going to be a 50-plus win team without Giannis, obviously, but regardless, they got to win without him. So, how many games, I guess, I don't know how long he's supposed to be out for at this point. So I don't know if it's a lengthy amount of time, but, you got one. So who knows what that record ends up being at the end of the year. But an impressive win to be like, okay, this actual roster is even a little bit better than we thought as well, too. Again, it's not necessarily a roster that, again, you go Brunson on this team without Cat or, any other, again, literally any other player, Shea. But maybe I'm double talking. Maybe as I talk it out, maybe it is a little bit better than I would suspect. But again, I think Giannis does, of course, lift it up into the extra title level contenders. But I think maybe the point would be, maybe with Shea, they would actually be in the Eastern Conference, hot take with Shea, but maybe they would be, 51 wins, maybe not quite the same sort of in the finals. But I'm also underestimating Shea as well too. Obviously he's a pretty good scorer, so we can't say that his individual creativity in the middle of the court couldn't kind of geometrically, big word time, chat. It couldn't kind of geometrically work out some of the same ways that Giannis does. Because again, not to say that they're the same type of player, but they do kind of attack downhill in a little bit of, they're going to be in the same sort of lanes at times. I guess everybody is, but I think it's not too comparable to be like, yes, some of the spacing stuff would obviously be a similar way to work it out. But yes, I would say, again, at this point, there is a certainty to Milwaukee with that team that I don't know if another team has in the league at this point, or in the Eastern Conference. I guess in a positive way. And maybe Chicago, honestly, would be another one. Again, what is the time for us to be honest with these teams? But I don't know if they have it paused in like a title contending type of way. I think they would develop that certainty of, yes, this is a really competitive regular season team, but are they gonna win 4 rounds in the playoffs with Buzelis as their best player? I mean, get ready, Chad. Get ready. That would be insane. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland's 500 right now. New York's gonna be less than 500. So, those teams can play better. But is there gonna be more certainty to their formula as a team than Milwaukee as they continue to also just figure this out, and the chemistry and the comfortability and just locking in on what they are? But Miami as well, it's like, okay, well coached, ball movement, playmaking, we know what we get from them. But I think maybe the extra point was the certainty, again, with Giannis as a player, continues to elevate them into a title contending standpoint, where if we had the playoffs at 5 games after the season, I guess I don't know why I wouldn't pick Milwaukee to win the East at this point. With, again, if you just think that those other teams that we mentioned are going to lock in for this this way shortened season. Owners don't want to take 10 games off. We're taking 80 games off, and we're 75 games off. 75. Well, we're taking enough games off to make them mad. But pause. But I would be most confident in Milwaukee in a playoff scenario at this point. Again, like Charlotte, we know that they're a really good offensive team, but their opponent's points per game actually outweighs their own points per game at this point. Not the only team in the league that does that, but the only team in the league giving up 120. That's also, I guess, Philly's giving up 120 and also scoring 120, but they're scoring 125. So we've got Charlotte scoring 124, giving up 124.4, and then in the West, the 120 club, Portland 123, giving up 118. Kind of close. Oh, Utah. So we've got Utah scoring 126, but giving up 120 as well. So, yeah, those would be the teams. We've got Utah. Who did we say over here? Utah, Charlotte, and Philly. So maybe that does show like, oh, is this Philly thing going to even out at some point as well, too? Oh, wait a second. So I'm thinking the score was updated for today. Are they 4-2 now? Hey, yo, we gotta double check the schedule. Oh no, okay, so yeah, they got the loss on the Boston loss updated here now. So yeah, Brooklyn. No, I guess a bounce back game against Brooklyn. Do we shout out Rosillo? Report now they're gonna win that game. Who knows though? Maybe that's the random Brooklyn first win. Though Philly 2 losses in a row. Who would have seen it? Who would have seen it happening? But yeah, I think. Is Spurs Bucks like the best title bet at this point? Though maybe you still could get decent odds on Bucks versus Thunder. I don't know if we could actually check out some 5 games into the season, but that is the benefit, I think, of the NBA. And not to say that percentage-wise the season, obviously the percentages would be the same for whatever percentage of the NFL season this would be. But at least, time spent, that still is just it's more time. It is what it is. So I don't know if we can actually claim that we're more familiar with the teams, but at least I think the opportunity to get some of the value on some of these matchups. We'll say that, just for the sake of it, that it is around a little bit longer. But, and again, for the Spurs to, I guess, make the finals as well, too, for them to actually get over OKC would be a little bit of a prediction at this point. But I feel like with the way Milwaukee was valued in the preseason odds, you could still get pretty good odds at this point, even if they have been corrected a little bit. Like, how much has Kuzma actually won over the people at FanDuel is the actual question at this point. And that's even if they have, I guess, the matchups available as well, too, or just the teams to win it. Finals MVP. So, this is an interesting one, actually, because if it was, Spurs versus the Bucks, I think, Giannis is obviously terrifying in that, and individually a little bit more likely. They have Giannis at 45-1, but Wemby at 35-1. So, again, that just accounts for the fact that Wemby's in the West as well, too. Wemby has better odds, and he's in the West. Like, I just think Giannis has easier... Do the Bucks have better odds to get to the finals? But Wemby has better finals MVP odds, so I get that, some of the stuff is probably juiced a certain way. But still, Giannis, I guess, Chad, a little advice. If you just want to, what's a random little future maybe that could really pay off down the road? I guess if you want to jinx Giannis for the rest of the year, this is the way to do it, chat. Pause. Giannis 45-1 to win finals MVP is not a bad bet at all. And he's got less odds than Jaylen Brown. Why does Giannis have less? I guess this is the point, that Milwaukee is still a little disrespected in some of the odd stuff. I guess they don't necessarily have finals matchups. They don't have a tab. So wait, playoffs. Okay, that's to make. Yeah, they don't necessarily, I guess, have matchups available at this point. But that is a good way to skirt around it. And I don't know, it might be in the 65-1 range, 75-1. If it was 80-1, Bucks versus Thunder at 80-1. Again, the Thunder alone, Shea's plus 175. So the Thunder alone might make that a 30-1 bet. I don't know. But Giannis league MVP plus 750 is not bad right now either. Jokic definitely, again, has the scoring potential. Wemby has the narratives. Shea has the established, presence at this point as well, too. I guess he has the crown already. So that sort of effect that we've seen the last couple of years where that guy wins the MVP and then gets better the next season. So it's he has to win the MVP the next year as well, too. Giannis, Jokic both had that happen. But, we'll see if it, I guess, if it's Shea's turn. But, yeah, those are both decent bets. And then it plummets. Edwards at 50-1 is crazy. So maybe Maxey at 100-1 is not too bad as well, too. You think New York, Cleveland turnarounds, Brunson and Mitchell, just honestly, this is almost like just playing the market at this point. I don't know if it's investor, day trading type of advice, but just bet Brunson and Mitchell at 200-1 and then cash out later when the odds move. Because I guess the part would be maybe the fact that the actual winner wouldn't change. So I don't know, is it pointless for them to even jump up the rankings at that point? Does FanDuel care? I don't know if it actually makes them more likely, but still, if they start winning some games, you would assume that something would have to happen. So you could see, again, turnaround for both those teams. Could the odds double? How much money would you make or get cut in half if Brunson and Mitchell? Do I not know? I guess Rem learns gambling, chat. We'll see what happens. If Brunson and Mitchell odds go to 100-1 at some point, that's getting cut in half. So what if they go to 50-1? I don't know. Are we gonna get rich, chat? Maybe not. But outside of that, it does seem like the tier would start to separate a little bit. Desmond Bain at 1,000-1. Jamal Murray, Cooper Flagg, Reeves. Ooh, Reeves at 1,000-1 might be the best long shot bet, though. Unfortunately, I guess obviously fortunately, but unfortunately for Reeves, Luka would probably win the MVP before Reeves, just from a better voter standpoint. But regardless, he has been good to start the year as well too. And maybe we should mention him as well too, because that was another thing I was thinking about with this team. And I know we have already kind of mentioned some of the LeBron trade stuff along with everybody, hey, yo. And I know maybe we get competitive here because, again, shout out to Simmons. Shout out to Russillo as well, too. So, hey, yo. But shout out to Simmons. He was saying that he was going to get on the trade machine and start cooking up for LeBron. So I don't know if we have to, get in line first here and see what we have. But we did look at that New York trade where it was like Anunoby. It was him and Anunoby. I think it was, I don't remember the exact. I think it was like a 3-for-3. Was it Bronny, and Jackson Hayes for Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and McBride? I think that might have been the trade. So we could definitely try that one again here just to double check. But that is not bad. And I guess maybe the take we should say here is I do think that I guess there's two different versions of the take. The more definite version of the take is that Pelinka will definitely make over this team again because he's done it before at the trade deadline. This man has been able to maneuver around the cap and find moves that we didn't think were possible and able to at least raise the ceiling of what we thought was possible for the team. Yeah, has he necessarily, again, built a title team, but what was he working with? And he was able to make moves every year that made the team better in the season. And I actually, like I'm saying, I believe that as well too. But the more, I guess, safe version of the take, the more broader version of the take is that maybe Pelinka, I guess maybe it's not the safe version of the take, but there is sort of a legacy thing with Pelinka. I think that's on the line this year a little bit, or that could potentially be a thing that happens. And speaking of LeBron, the obvious just legacy thing would be, hey, yo, Pelinka was the guy that traded LeBron. But the fact that, like we were saying, he has kind of done this before, where he hasn't flipped a major name like LeBron at this point. I guess he flipped Davis for Luka, obviously being the ultimate version of it. Hey, yo, that's just more we're saying Nico Harrison did that trade. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But I think the assets that he potentially has to trade with are, again, the best that he would have at this point up until his career. And I do think that Reeves is, again, a really great player. We love Reeves on this pod. And offensively, him and Luka are going to be able to do damage together. We've already seen it. And are a really scary team if Reeves keeps playing like this. Like, that is, again, offensively, Luka, as long as he has that counterpart, like he had with Kyrie or something. I don't know if Reeves is Kyrie, peak Kyrie level, but production-wise, I'm not saying that he's too far off right now. From where Kyrie was at there on that finals run for the Mavs. But again, sort of stylistically, the combo of them, maybe you would want a little more defense as well too. But Reeves is getting into the territory where, and again, trading contracts now is complicated as well too, so we will definitely look at that here. But he is getting into the territory where you could actually get like some real stuff for him. And again, not to say that you couldn't before, but he's commanding the offense in a different way without Doncic on the court, where he could run pick and rolls, he could orchestrate things and set guys up. But the way that he is setting stuff up now is, and maybe this is actually, he's played with LeBron, so I don't know if the sort of playmaker element was like, okay, I'm playing with LeBron and now I'm playing with Luka. But there is that heliocentric element to his game now where it's like you can go 5 out with Austin Reeves and just Austin Reeves can take a guy one-on-one from the top and find a playmaker, or you can bring a guy over and set a screen and now he's going pick and roll. Like, again, he is legitimate number one. I don't know if it's like, again, number one player on a title team, but he has legitimate number one player, can give you 24 and 8 maybe if he was like running a team. I don't think that'd be too crazy. And again, there is a defensive element there, but offensively, he could stabilize a lot of situations. San Antonio, again, we've gotten lucky with the guard situation to be able to have the two-way impact potentially from all these guys, but it's not like a guy with a point guard potential, the mini point guard skills that Reeves would have wouldn't be a valuable player. I actually do think at this point as well too. Reeves would have been a guy that's like, oh, I can't believe that we don't have him right now. I can't believe that he would be so perfect for this team, and he definitely, again, would be. But yeah, again, we kind of like the core of guys that we have now as well too. So wait a second, let's double check this Knicks trade real quick. But again, I guess and I know that again, we're adding to the LeBron conversation at this point, not necessarily pioneering a new thought, but I actually would be way more way more okay, I guess personally, with the idea of him getting traded. Not that matters, of course, but it would have been, I don't know, for some reason it just wouldn't have seemed, and not to say that I guess at the end of the day I'm going to sit here and, get too overly concerned with player moves. I'll make peace with it pretty quickly. Once the Durant move happened, it's like, okay, any other NBA move, it's just, it is what it is at that point. We can make peace with it. It cares. That move obviously ruined we know what a move that ruins the competitive balance of the league is like. So, any other move, probably not quite like that. But I don't know, just the LeBron bouncing around element, like, it's not that he didn't belong to Cleveland, but there would have been a little bit of a mercenary aspect to his game that I think would have gotten a little bit weird at that point, where it's like, okay, we can't stay at a place for more than 5 years. And, like, weirdly, LA has been the place I think where he's been at the longest just consecutively at any point in his career. So he's kind of already, again, achieved the sustainability as well, too. And I think him also leaving the Lakers a little bit, or like, even though they didn't necessarily, again, have the same level of playoff success outside of that title year, and yes, that title year was in the bubble as well, too, so that's unfortunate and from a fan perspective. But he was able to achieve an iconic Lakers status, with the time that he has spent there. And again, you go like a legitimate Lakers career, and one title compared to some of the other Lakers greats, it starts going history of the franchise. He's not going to be, surpassing the absolute top legendary name. He's not a better Laker than Kobe. He's probably not a better Laker than, just again, for the franchise, than Shaq or Kareem. But once you get off that first team, like, you could really start making a case for second team all Laker for LeBron. And maybe he's the fifth guy on first team all Laker, just because of his iconic status as well, too. So I guess I do like the fact that he did achieve some sort of, I think, good place there with the Lakers franchise in his connection to that fan base. But the fact that it's happened, it's like, okay, let's get it with another one. And as good as, again, I think individually Luka and Reeves and LeBron are, I don't think the three of them together are going to win a title. But I think, LeBron, hot take, could be a competitive guy, obviously on a title team still. But I think he needs a little bit more defense around him than Luka and Reeves can provide. And, Reeves and Luka could say the same for the other two guys. Whatever the combination is, those three guys, there just needs to be more defense on the court if they actually want to win the title, with Luka as the best player there. But again, asset-wise, Pelinka, if you're trading LeBron and trading Reeves, you have the real potential to build a roster around Luka that could get scary. And we get to the point where it's, again, the middle of the season trades, the familiarity, the chemistry of the guys. Are you actually going to win the title? But now that, again, you have a little bit more of a franchise guy instead of just the year-to-year thing that you had with LeBron and Davis, you can maybe focus on some more long-term stuff where you're like, okay, we're sacrificing 20% of the instant title stuff this year, but this move is going to get us closer at the end of the day. So that, like we were saying, and I know that, again, maybe Anunoby and the Knicks haven't got off to the best start as well, too. I don't know if it's necessarily how we phrase that team as well, too, is Anunoby and the Knicks. But for the sake of the trade, he would be the centerpiece of the steal. But like we said as well, too, McBride and Mitchell Robinson, I think that's an interesting upgrade from the Bronny Jackson Hayes spots. Makes no mistake. So I don't know if you want to necessarily, use the LeBron asset to upgrade the Bronny and Jackson Hayes spots. But, Anunoby as well, too, next to Doncic could be interesting. It's not as good as LeBron. I think we liked it better before the Knicks were 2-3, honestly. So, again, Mitchell Robinson is not bad on a Doncic-led team. It'd be nice for him to have a center like that. But, hey, there was another Western Conference team that I was thinking about for LeBron. But should we look at the Mavs real quick? I didn't think about the Mavs. I guess actually trading LeBron to the Mavs would be crazy. But maybe Reeves to the Mavs? I don't know. Could you do Kyrie for Reeves? I don't know if that gets you obviously closer to the title. Not this year, I guess, because Kyrie is hurt. So, it was a good idea when Kyrie was healthy, but unfortunately, that is not been the case for a while now. So, I don't know if I like the vibes of that. Honestly, I don't know. Again, we get some of the center stuff back. Could be fun, but it feels a little selling low on LeBron. But you could also just get into the argument of, 1-year deal. Do we let him walk next year? Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, whatever version of a trade you're going to get is probably the only way that he's going to leave the team at this point. But Dallas is also just not good enough for them to trade for him and them for them to win a title. So I do think that the East obviously is, of course, a good place for him to go if there is a roster there that makes sense. But I was really starting to consider, I wonder if the Golden State possibilities now really start to increase, because Kuminga has looked really, really good this year. But again, he's looked really, really good as a complimentary guy. So he's not untradeable for a big name like LeBron, make no mistake. And Kuminga versus LeBron is actually an interesting argument in 2025 in that roster if Kuminga keeps playing this way. And again, if you go, okay, well, maybe we actually do sign Kuminga to a contract here and we have him for a couple more years. But just the idea of having LeBron and Steph together on the same team, and if you're able to keep Butler as well too, like, yes, it's a veteran team, make no mistake, but it is an incredibly, incredibly marketable team. You're going to make all that tax money back with having LeBron and Steph just in jersey sales. And, I mean, just the idea of having LeBron and Steph together as well, too, is, like, I don't even know if we can kind of fathom that. Like, I do kind of think that now maybe the Warriors are the team for him at this point. So I know the trade machine's going to be a little bit weird here because it's updated for the preseason and not necessarily where we're at, on Halloween here. But we can kind of mess with his contract because we do, I think, know that Kuminga on the 1-year deal that he is on is at like 22.5, I think, million. So, not a bad 1-year deal for Kuminga, though it is, of course, different now in the modern NBA with the way that these salaries are looking. But yeah, I guess if we just at least have that 1-year number in there, that'll at least, give us a general idea. Though, the technicalities, the trade machine is technical these days. I don't know if by not necessarily getting this 100% right, if it's going to make it different. Plus, it's not necessarily a standard contract as well, too. I don't think, with the restricted free agency stuff. But, hey, it is what it is. It's what we'll have to work with for now. So, it's got to be Bron and Bronny just because it is what it is. And the thing about it is maybe Draymond does have to be in the trade as well, too. Just if you're trying to, match the salaries as quickly as possible. That does kind of get you there because you do also have the cap space as well, too. They have, at least for the second apron, and this is being updated as we, of course, enter information into the trade machine. But at least for the second apron, they do have some room and still even some room to work with as well, too. So going into the first apron is going to make this a little tricky to figure out here. But at least it gets us kind of close. Yeah, we're only about $6 million off. So that's only one other contract. A 2 for 3 is pretty fair if you get Bronny back. I think Guy Santos, can we make that work? Like Healed, you start talking about what is the depth of the team at this point. But again, I think you just got to go, okay, maybe there's just one last bit of Team USA magic here with LeBron and Steph. And, maybe there's another veteran guy you can go out and try to get as well, too. I don't know, you get pods and a pick, start trying to flip stuff around. I don't know what happens there. But Kuminga and Draymond is a little, a little bit for the depth there. I don't know. Moody has been pretty reliable as a role guy, though. 11 mil is not crazy on the contract, so it would have to be, Moody, Kuminga, and Healed for LeBron and Bronny. It does, and I don't think that's quite enough. So yeah, maybe you have to bring a third team in just for a little bit more of a piece if you're giving up Kuminga and Draymond. But Kuminga, Draymond, and Healed, I think does get you there, honestly, for bringing in LeBron. So that is pretty close. And again, Kuminga's been good enough this year that you really have to start thinking about the long-term benefits of him as well, too. Ooh, Chad. Not quite. What are we... Oh, wait a second. This was... Kuminga's sign-and-trade contract must be 3 or 4 years in length. Oh, okay. So, I guess because of the offseason, this would have been a sign-and-trade. not necessarily maybe just a regular in-season trade. But contract-wise, this does work out. And it does make the Warriors one less win according to the trade machine. So, yeah, you do, of course, sacrifice some real minutes here, losing 34 minutes a game in total. I don't know if we can get another contract back. We're under the allowable income by 5 mils. So, even any minutes would honestly be good. Vanderbilt? Do they want to take the Vanderbilt contract? Oh, we lost our trade. It is what it is. I think we remember the piece is pretty good. Oh, perfect. Restored. How clutch. The Ayton contract. Ooh, LaRavia probably just played too well. Marcus Smart, even though he's been hustling as well to connect, obviously, is staying. So we're back to Jackson Hayes, chat. Koloklo, just because you got to get the asset. Hayes, Bronny, and Braun. Or I guess just the trade that has to be. But I think this is going to work as... Whoa, not quite. Okay, but we're back on the same sort of restrictions. And Jackson Hayes, yeah, he can be traded now because we're past October 6th. I think we saw that last time as well, too. So, yeah, you could potentially do this. And Jackson Hayes, adding him in does increase it to an even on the win scale for this trade as well, too. So this would be the skeleton of our favorite LeBron trade at this point. Because, again, I don't think the Warriors would quite win the title with this core as well, too. So I'm not saying this makes them way better. I think, a general LeBron, Draymond, Kuminga upgrade, you're probably going to have a little bit of a higher ceiling. Again, assuming the sciatica's not too bad. But at this point, I kind of just want to see that. LeBron and Steph together, both of them still able to perform. Unfortunately... Our goal for seeing LeBron in person would probably be off the table at that point because LeBron and Steph tickets would just be too much to afford, especially these days, chat. Hey, yo, maybe if they play through another election, we'll just have to see. But, hey, yo, I guess we can't write it off. Pause. But we do have, that would become a hot ticket for sure in the league. But, again, would really probably be their best value at this point would just be who could, outside of the Lakers, benefit from LeBron as a brand as well, not to, again, discount his game. But that is also up there as well with the things that he is providing to the table. And I would be, I guess, maybe to, add our team into the conversation, I would obviously, hot take, be okay with trading for LeBron. I don't know if we would do, obviously, Fox for LeBron. I think Vassell for LeBron is probably getting a little bit too much at this point. Just disrupt the chemistry aspect of it. Like, yes, you're bringing in LeBron, but still, it's like, okay, let's just see what we have. But, if we trade some unnamed veterans here, we could potentially compile a decent number. And speaking of space, we do also have the cap space as well, too. Cornet, chat. Oh, no, we have to give up Cornet? Hey, yo. Lindy Waters? McLaughlin's been playing some minutes. Maybe it's one of those guys. Riley Minks? I don't know. Wait, let's just see how much cap we have to get rid of here to make this deal work. Okay, 13 mil? Yeah, the Cornet contract's going to get us pretty close. And I guess this would be a good time to mention Johnson as well, too. Keldon Johnson, not as a trade piece, but as a kind of a no-trade piece, because it is a sneaky fact that he is, I think, the longest tenured member of the Spurs at this point. Again, the veterans on this team are McLaughlin, who was just signed, Cornet, who was just signed, and Barnes, who got there, I guess, after Keldon Johnson did, obviously drafted to the team. Vassell, I think, was drafted after Keldon Johnson, so, 1 year sooner as well, too. But there was a moment after this last win against the Heat where they got the 5th win in a row, they set the franchise record, and they were doing the post-game interview to the arena with the microphone, and they had Wemby answer the first question, and, he was like, yeah, this is great, we're excited. We love, of course, the fact that we're able to get some wins now and that this is starting to form together as, a real thing. And then they gave the mic to Keldon Johnson, and he kind of pivoted into the, hype the crowd up, energy man, kind of like a real leadership type stuff. And you were like, okay, he does have a veteran presence to him, again, even though he's a younger guy, in this group specifically. And, he's been productive this year as well, too. So I think, honestly, again, for his, for his leadership in this team, I'll say, again, I don't know what you can say about a 25-year-old, but for his leadership on this team, I kind of think he's a little untradeable. And yes, I guess you could bring in a great leader. Ayo, is LeBron leadership-wise? I guess Ayo, we could have our debates. But, is he leadership-wise going to struggle? Probably not. But I think just vibes-wise, Ayo, Keldon Johnson, better vibes than LeBron. But, he is obviously being a great job of being that quote-unquote veteran guy for this team. So I wouldn't want to mess that up by any means. So I guess point being, it'd have to take a lot. Johnson, to his credit, would have to be like the centerpiece of the Giannis trade at this point. Like it would have to be, okay, you're taking Johnson and Cornette and, the role guys and the picks, and he's going to be your best player. And he is, I'm not saying this because, we want to trade him, but he is not necessarily too far off from that range, even though, again, you do get the benefit of him, playing with an increased roster as well, too. But, Barnes, Olynyk, and then, it is what it is. We get Haynes back for Cornette, so that is just the trade at this point. And then he's kind of the center that would replace, obviously, the minutes and at least help out. But the way that Cornette can play next to Wembanyama as well, too, I don't know if Hayes would be able to quite be at that level. So, I don't think, unless we really want to get aggressive, again, speaking of third teams, maybe there's another piece we could get in here as well, too. But it's just not quite enough, I think, for San Antonio. I guess Milwaukee would be the interesting one. And it does seem franchise-wise, like San Antonio, I guess, would have been more realistic if it would have been Popovich as well, too. And that is definitely something to factor in. Like, yes, it is still the San Antonio franchise, and Wembanyama obviously carries a lot of weight as a teammate. Well, he's carrying a little bit more this offseason, obviously. But, he is, talent-wise, a guy that you definitely want to play with. But it is a little bit different now that Pop is there in terms of Pop isn't there coaching for LeBron specifically playing on that team. But the Warriors, of course, again, Steph, California, close to LA, like it all makes sense for him to be there just franchise-wise as well, too. Milwaukee would be a little bit of a weird franchise. I don't know if he would fall into sort of the Dame Lillard trap. And, Miles Turner would be an interesting trade. I think Miles Turner is, obviously not on the LeBron level, but hot take. Hey, we're really, speaking crazy over here, I guess. But, he is half the salary, so you were definitely getting a couple people back. They just don't have enough people. Kuzma and Miles Turner for LeBron? The Bucks say no? I don't know. They just don't have enough guys. They just be like, it is what it is. I mean, we would love to have LeBron and Giannis at some point, but I don't know if this team could quite sustain. So, again, they're kind of balancing right now on, yes, we're saying they're obviously good, and there is a consistency there that they do have potentially. But, again, it's like, okay, if Giannis is not healthy for consistency or whatever, then it could fall apart quickly. So, we don't want to necessarily pull any of the Jenga blocks out, too crazily. And just, like, is he going to go to Detroit? Again, Orlando, maybe if they had played a little bit better, but they're not going to, I guess be as good of a team as we thought. So maybe, that's just off the table as a move. But Cleveland as well, him returning there is obviously a possibility outside of the fact they can't make the trade. So if there was a trade that they were able to make beforehand, if we found the trade that was able to make them make the trade, then I guess obviously at that point, we'd be able to talk it out. But it's just not really a move with them having to do the 1-for-1s, because LeBron at $52 million just doesn't match any of the salaries on the Cleveland guys at this point. I guess Boston, if you're thinking next year, and then it's Brown, Tatum, and LeBron in year 4, and LeBron at age 41, but that would get a little, risky as well too. Thinking you're gonna just say, okay, not necessarily throw away the second half of the year, but you're not necessarily going to improve your competitive situation too much. LeBron and Durant, Houston would be, I don't know. I would still need a couple more. I'm not quite necessarily feeling him in that franchise as well, too. Yeah, I don't know. Is it something about him going to the other Texas teams? Only San Antonio makes sense. But, yeah, like Dallas and Houston, chat. Ayo, hot take. They are not the right franchise for LeBron. But I guess point being, all that being said, the stage is set for Pelinka to potentially make some moves here. I guess we didn't even look at the Reeves sides of the trades. Should we look at the Reeves sides of the trades after the break, chat? Hey, yo, let's take one more quick break. We've got the last, I guess, let me see, the last 30 for the movie. The last 30 for the movie. We'll pause it here real quick, go to break, and we'll be back to wrap up the Halloween special, Vampire in Brooklyn, and maybe poke around the trade machine. Keep an eye on some of these NBA games. You know how it goes. We'll be right back. Okay, chat, we are back. Shout-outs to Tiago Splinter, of course, for taking over for Chauncey Billups, coaching the Blazers. Also attempting to rizz up the referee. Hey, yo, I don't know, a little bit different approach to try to get the calls to go your way. I don't know. But, you know, this is a charming guy, it looks like. But, hey, yo, we were going to see what Austin Reeves' trade market was at this point. What is Pelinka going to do to get this Luka Doncic situation figured out? Again, Reeves does have a interesting value because you do know that the game is a little one-sided with the offense, even though, like we're saying, it is really, really showing itself to be creative. Though, hey, yo, scrolling past the Rockets, speaking of, and you do, of course, get into the conversations of do you want to start trading him to the other contenders as well, too. But they could get into a little bit of an overpay situation because they need the guard help. And you think Reeves, again, is not necessarily traditional point guard entering the league, but has definitely developed, like we're saying, is much more, you know, fully capable in that role. And I think is kind of the guy that they could absolutely need to potentially help bring all the pieces together and orchestrate the offense. Could he get a little, you know, do you want him necessarily hunting for a shot more than Amen Thompson and Durant, but him as the third guy behind that is on pause is obviously great. Or Sven Goon, fourth guy, as well too. But I think he would, if given the point guard task, would be able to be successful, more focused there as well too. 13 million on the contract, so it's not like they do have to go crazy as well in the what they give up. So I was gonna say Jabari Smith would be interesting, but he just signed the extension, so that poison pill would be, ooh, okay, not too bad actually. 22 million is what is labeled as the incoming, the amount of money that they will be getting on the books in terms of that trade. So I don't know how many pieces you're going to start giving up here for Jabari Smith and an Austin Reeves deal, you know? It seems like Reeves might actually still be the better player. And, you know, again, do you want to give up Jabari Smith to get your point guard? I don't know if that was the goal, you know, maybe Dorian Finney-Smith instead. But Tari Eason, you know, Eason is not bad, chat. Eason's not bad. Eason for Reeves, again, you're going to need a little bit more, and they're going to have to pay Eason as well too, but you're probably not going to have to pay him as much as you're going to have to pay Reeves in this upcoming negotiation. You could get Shepherd back just because. So now you're trading for the Rockets bench, essentially, and I think you're going to need a little bit more, even if the contracts are going to align at this point. You know, you start going, do we get Van Fleet for the future? I don't know if you start investing that way. And maybe some picks as well, too. You just go with the flexibility. A pick would not be a bad option here as well. That could be a trade to a trade type of situation where, again, you just have the pick. The Rockets go, you know, we need the sort of more instant boost that Austin Reeves is able to give. A Phoenix pick with no protections? Hey, yo. So you could, like, top 3 protect it just in case? Hey, yo. The Chicago pick, oh, it's round 2. I was going to say Chicago pick with no protections. Oh, the Phoenix pick is 2027, though. So, I don't know. One more year with Booker, Green, and Brooks to figure it out? I don't know. We'll go Devin Booker trade machine next. Make no mistake. The Brooklyn swap rights is crazy, chat, in 2027. Hey, yo. I guess as long as it's not 2026, you know, Brooklyn, can they still get Dembasta? I don't know. But 2028 first is their own. 2029 swap with Dallas or Phoenix. So, I don't know. A lot of swaps in here. Maybe, you know, 2027 Brooklyn swaps. Probably not going to be the worst thing in the world. Though you can already see it's like, wait a second. We got a pick, and then Danny Wolf's good, and Igor Denham's okay, and we signed a couple of guys in free agency, and we won 42 games next year. What happened? But you go Eason, Reeves, and a first-round pick. Yeah, it feels a little weak, as you're not better this year for sure. You're really going to have to hope that first-round picks hits, but that's a pretty good, you know, that's not bad. Long-term, again, you definitely reset the franchise in a different way, and maybe Reed Shepherd, given the opportunity in LA, you know, you're not fixing the defensive stuff. You'd really have to, again, assume Tari Eason is going to unlock a little bit more next to Doncic. Is there any way, I guess you could start going contract stuff as well, too. Like, do you have to go like a Vanderbilt for Finney-Smith in this deal? So Reeves and Vanderbilt for Eason, Shepherd, Finney-Smith in a first. And I think it's probably too much for the Rockets this year to give up to try to win a title, to be honest. So it does seem like a nice 5-man lineup for Reeves to be playing on. Pause. Woo. But I don't know if they can quite get the pieces perfect. Ooh, Minnesota. Minnesota could definitely use Reeves. Again, could you say Reeves, DiVincenzo? Like, do they have a true point guard? But at least, you know, the lead guard boost would be better than, you know, athletically than what Conley has given you as well, too, with all due respect to Mike Conley. You know, Naz Reid for Austin Reeves? You know, I don't know. Naz Reid, what's his three-point percentage been like this year? But Luka, Naz next to Luka could actually be pretty deadly. I mean, his athleticism and activity around the basket has definitely been valuable in Minnesota, but his spacing could be extra valuable in LA next to Doncic as well, too. Yeah, he's only been 25% from 3 this year. I was going to say, he hasn't necessarily been lighting up the stat sheet, But again, change of scenery. Who knows? Maybe change of the fact that now he's got a big contract and it doesn't need to. Who knows? But you don't want to ever just chalk that up to the reason. But sometimes it happens. So maybe you need a guard instead. Who knows? But he again feels like a pretty important piece. Do you do like a DiVincenzo for Reeves deal? That really sets you in a different direction. Again, you're committing to the offense instead of the defense at that point. DiVincenzo can be an elite guard defender for sure. I guess Naz Reid is more salary than Reeves. So you're going to have to get an extra piece as well too, other than Reeves. And maybe this time, Vanderbilt doesn't cut it as well too. Maybe you need something else. Reeves and LaRavia? The white guy. Oh, hey, I don't know if this starts getting into sketchy territory, but it would be an interesting, again, offensive boost for the team. Though LaRavia does have that two-way activity as well too. Oh, shout out, I guess, to Eddie Murphy for helping Angela Bassett realize that she's a vampire. Hey yo, sometimes you need Eddie Murphy to show you the way. Yo. But let's see here. Do we have time to figure out another Austin Reeves trade? I think we do. Wait a second. That wasn't half an hour for the movie? Okay, yeah. We still got a couple seconds left. Unless there's just way more credits for this than I thought. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Oh, chat. They just showed Yang on the sideline for the Blazers. Hey, yo. That's why they're down to the Nuggets in this game. Hey, yo. I mean, the Yang versus Jokic matchup that we're missing out on is crazy, chat. The Jokic passing of the torch game is apparently not going to happen. But these are, I guess, Jokic-less minutes right now. Valanciunas on the court, definitely a different level of just play, but still kind of, from a glance, peripheral vision, you're like, he does pass the peripheral vision test as well, too. I don't know if that's a test that needs to be out there. But it's okay, can you play well enough to sustain the team, without the lead guy on the court, but also if you're watching the game out of the corner of your eye, does it look like Jokic is in the game? And then maybe you're not going to, switch the channel, turn it off. Who knows? But maybe Randall getting traded for Reeves would be interesting. I don't know. Randall, you're giving up a couple stuff because of the fact that Reeves does have a lower contract. That does kind of hurt you at that point. But maybe the Vanderbilt one would actually work in this case. Reeves and Vanderbilt for Randall? Oh, that's not going to quite be enough salary going out for the Lakers. Yeah, we're going to need at least 5.3 cut off of this trade. So a 3-for-1 might be a little too much for Randall from a depth standpoint. Though, Vincent's it's not like Vincent's, again, really super crazy minutes. So Vincent and Dillingham, I don't know if you'd give up on Dillingham like that, but Dillingham and Randall for Reeves, Vanderbilt, and Vincent, no, you'd need something else in that deal as well, too. I guess maybe LeBron to Minnesota. Did we consider that? Gobert for LeBron? Gobert and Randall for LeBron. And then it's Gobert and Luka on the same team? Hey, yo. That would be the funniest outcome of all of these scenarios, honestly. But Marcus Smart, like we said, at least he'll give you minutes. Leonard Miller? We still have Leonard Miller's stock. Did the Wolves miss on all these guys that we think are still talented, or are they just not, correctly sort of getting them integrated? Honestly, Leonard Miller in JJ Redick's team, chat, let's see what happens there. Conley, I don't know if he helps out LA at all. This feels like a close team that could make it happen. Pause. I don't know. Or, like we said, send him to the East, a different conference, not having to worry about the competitive stuff there. But I just don't see a team in the East that jumps off the page for Reeves. Maybe like a hero situation. Again, you're not improving defensively. I don't really know what the point of that move would be, just to pay a guy more money, I guess. But Wiggins, and that is the downside to the $13 million. The favorable contract for the books is, I guess, the fact that you're probably not going to want it. You can't really trade it for the same level of player as well, because they're probably not making 13 or, you know, rookie salary. Who knows if they're going to be ready to depart with the player as well, too. At that time, I don't know. Reeves to Sacramento? Sacramento could just make a random move at any point. Portland doesn't feel quite right. Phoenix, I don't know. Utah, I guess for some reason he does feel like he could play well in Utah. But yeah, we'll keep an eye out, I guess, see what Pelinka is able to cook up. You know, it is the two team trades are more difficult. At the end of the day, these teams are obviously much more committed to poking around in the trade machine and getting more teams involved. And we saw the Durant trade escalate into something that was, you know, like the most insane trade in NBA history, and like 7 teams and all these moving parts. I was trying to figure out a player trade path the other day, and I looked it back up and saw that he was in the Durant trade, and I was like, I'm not even going to read this. It's just like 4 paragraphs of trading information. It's crazy. But the ability, I guess, to get a move is possible, but way more moving pieces now, and the fact that you just have to, you know, really figure out how to work around this cap situation and bring in all these teams and moving parts and figure out how to get it to happen. But hey, yo, we'll see what kind of mastermind work Pelinka is able to put together here on this roster, potentially as a, you know, thing to look out for. Those were, hey, yo, the big 3 chat. Pause. The big 3 things. Spurs. Are we a title contender? Is, I guess, Milwaukee the best team in the East? Does Pelinka have the opportunity to make over this team at some point in the season as well, too? So do we do Mount Rushmore Halloween movies and put Vampire in Brooklyn on it, or do we listen to this Jay-Z verse on this Big L album, chat? We might actually have to do that real quick. Shout out to Big L. We could do a full album reaction, but I don't know if we have time to necessarily queue up the full Big L album here at this point. But hey, yo, chat. I mean, I see a Jay-Z feature here, so I wasn't like reading a ton of stuff about this album beforehand. I don't know, and obviously, you know, again, rest in peace to Big L. You know, obviously those verses are going to be, you know, pre-recorded, posthumous in some type of way. But I don't know if, I guess, when this Jay-Z verse is supposed to be from. I'm assuming, you know, most of this stuff is supposed to be new. And again, we'd have, you know, a mix of new and, I guess, you know, legendary / former, and, you know, RIP, some Mac Miller I see here listed as a feature as well, too. I mean, as you would expect, an insane feature list. And, I mean, really makes me want to queue up this album again as well. Just listen to the whole thing. So I guess we'll see what happens here, chat. Hey, yo, shout out. Vampire Brooklyn is wrapping up. Pause. But we've got our guy Joey on a feature. We've got, like we said, Jay-Z. We've got Joe Budden. We've got R.I.P. Mac Miller. We've got Method Man, Nas. We've got that Joe Budden's featured track is called Doo-Wop Freestyle 99. So I don't know if we're getting a Lauryn Hill sample here or not. But, hey, yo, real quick. I typically, again, if we listen to the album, full album, we'll start track 1, you know, listen to it normal. Hey, yo, we're not over here, you know, doing anything super crazy. But we will maybe skip around on this one and see where we get. So Harlem's Finest, Return of the King. You know, R.I.P. Been over a decade since the last release from the great artist, of course, Big L. So, yeah, you see the track list here and the features that we mentioned. So we're starting with 7-minute freestyle. Hey, yo, lock in, chat. We've got Jay-Z. It's been a minute, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a lot to say. And would definitely make sense for him to pull up for one of, you know, a legendary album like this. You know, if it's not going to be DJ Khaled, chat, I guess it's going to be Big L. So let's start with 7-minute freestyle. We may have to hit the mute because, unfortunately, of course, you guys know that YouTube, you know, we can't just sit here and listen to the song, but we'll let you know how it goes. Hey, yo, where's Jay-Z, you know, when he locks in, chat? And, of course, you know, Big L. But of all the features and just the, you know, again, the rarity of a Jay-Z verse these days, if it's a new Jay-Z verse, this is the one that we have to listen to. Mac is definitely going to be the second option, though. And then Nas would just be the third because it's Nas as well too. And then it would just be kind of the favorites as well. But I think Joey would be the fourth guy on this album as well too. Just in terms of, you know, dudes, I guess Method Man, Ayo. But, you know, a little more current, obviously. Our guy, Joey. Ayo, chat, the boom bap vibe is crazy. It is as perfect as you could ask for. Big L's flows. I mean, Ayo, chat. It is like old time. Take me back to the 90s, chat. Ayo. I guess take us to the 90s, just in general, since we never actually made it to that decade. And Jay-Z, for some reason, I guess now when he pops up pause on a song, it's got to be a 7-minute song. I think that DJ Khaled track was a 7-minute track. So is that the last verse that Jay-Z has done? Am I crazy? What am I missing? Have I got the timeline wrong? I mean, that was definitely, you know, post his latest album. So this is, I guess, you know, now the newest appearance as well, too. But I imagine Big L's going to get, you know, a full song as well. I mean, it's a 5-minute Jay-Z verse. Hey, yo. Is he going to talk about how they're not doing the Super Bowl halftime anymore, Chad? What is going to be the main point of discussion? Either way, if you guys, of course, haven't yet, it dropped today. Get it in the playlist. Get it in save the album. Get it in the listen list, I guess. We need a better term for the watch list for listening. But, oh, get it in the queue. Hey, yo, get the album in the queue and get Big L, at least this one, you know, give it the spin. And I guess, Ayo, there's a couple terms we could probably use. Ayo. But, yeah, support the Big L, the estate, the legacy, all the stuff, and at least give the album a worthy listen. I mean, again, just for the vibe, if you know you need that sort of chill, boom bap type vibe, just give this album that experience because you know it's going to hit, and it's your chance to listen to some new music as well, too. And to get some legendary version. I mean, just this feature list, this is up there with the best feature list that we've seen on the year. I mean, I got to be honest. I mean, hot take. Hey, yo, is this the best feature list of the year? Just getting that Jay-Z feature alone. You know, who else is getting that? I mean, shout out. You know, Playboy Cardi got a Kendrick feature, so is Kendrick even there? Obviously, you know, that's up there for feature list of the year. That's about as stacked of an all-star cast as you're going to get for current stars. You know, Clips, obviously that album, pretty well curated feature list. Let's double check all those because you do have, I guess, you know, Legend on there. Pharrell, technically a feature, I guess. Though, does he count as part of the Clips? I think he does, honestly. So, not really a feature per se, but, you know, featuring his vocals anyways. So, yeah, Legend, Tyler, Kendrick, like we said, The Dream. Stove God Cooks. That's right. Stove God Cooks. They've got, I guess, Pharrell, and Nas, of course, as well, too. Abliva, and then, yeah, we mentioned The Dream. So that's definitely up there. Current form, all those guys are cooking. I mean, shout out to Stove God Cooks again for, you know, running the underground. But what was the other one we said that we were going to look up? Oh, yeah, just in terms of the star-studded feature list, you know. And it, fortunately for, I guess, music, but also I'm sure the Playboy Cardi fans love the rest of the Playboy Cardi songs as well, too. But this is, again, it's crazy. It's literally just the top guys in the league, top guys in the game. Hey, yo. You got Travis, two Travises, The Weeknd, Kendrick Lamar, Jhené Aiko, Skepta, Future, and Travis again, Kendrick again, Travis again, Lil Uzi Vert, Future, Ty Dolla $ign, Young Thug. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we just read the names once, you've got Travis, The Weeknd, Kendrick, Jhené, Skepta, Future, Lil Uzi Vert, Ty Dolla $ign, Young Thug. I mean, you're probably the number one. Ayo. So, ayo, chat. 7-minute freestyle is Big L. We're on minute 5. I don't think I've heard Jay-Z's vocals. I think it'd be pretty distinct. Is this going to be like a Jay-Z spoken word outro? We're going to get like a Jay-Z voicemail? I mean, hey, shout out, you know, the legend. Obviously, this is where he is at this point, the mythical godfather figure that he is, one of the, you know, the heads of the table, obviously, of the game. And when he pops out, it's just going to be an event. We're sitting here waiting for the verse, chat. Hey, yo, we had to take time to, you know, end the show by queuing up the song. But I guess, hey, yo, Big L is the one that shines on this track and is still the true star, as you would hope it is as well too. I guess, you know, shout out to Jay-Z for not necessarily stepping up and being like, you know, I'm gonna use the. I'm sure that, you know, in a way people wouldn't have mind, and if Big L was alive, R.I.P., and Jay-Z was like, hey, I'm gonna use this Big L album now that I'm retired to spit some thoughts. Pause. Like, whoa. Like, you know, I don't know if the Big L would support it, but I guess maybe spitting freestyles he would support a little bit more. But the, you know, the opportunity for that would still be, you know, awesome, and the notoriety that would help gain, I'm sure, would be, you know, Big L would be appreciative of and all that stuff. But, hey, yo, wait a second. Whoa, there we go, chat. I just heard like a hippity, and whoa, Jay-Z, what's going on there? We have to pause, go back and restart. Okay, we got to lock in, chat, and listen to this verse real quick. Yeah, chat, the cadence from our guy Jay-Z, he's a spitting fire. Like, everyone, I gotta look up and see. There is like a mix on these vocals that it could potentially. I was about to type in Genius on the Genius search bar. It could potentially be pre-recorded. I guess. Ayo, 7 miniature, 7. Ayo, chat. What are we looking up? 7 minute. Chat, we can type out. Make no mistake. Freestyle. Here we go. And see if we get the Big L result here. I guess we gotta be careful that this doesn't get us taken down as well too. I guess, hey, yeah, we've made it far enough into the episode as well. At least we gave you guys a decent live stream before we got stricken with the copyrights. But hey, yeah, we got to figure out where the Jay-Z verse starts here. I guess it doesn't necessarily say at this point. People haven't updated this, maybe. And I guess, hey, yo, if we knew every Jay-Z verse, we would know where this one falls from as well too. This line was later used in Jay-Z's Justify My Thug to raise hell. Ooh, okay, so is this a track from back in the day? We have to do our research, and you know, we respect guys' rotations. Obviously, you know a guy's name, you know the albums. If the Big L album, if it plays in the shuffle on our playlist, you know, we're never skipping it. Those are obviously iconic songs, but it doesn't mean we're necessarily always locked in on the entire discography as well too. So let me type it in. 7-minute drill? No, 7-minute freestyle. Ooh, is it pop up anywhere else? Is there a 21 Savage song? Okay. 7 minutes of Kevin? Whoa, pause. An audiobook. We'll have to see what that one's about, I guess. But 7-minute freestyle, Big L. Yeah, it looks like this is the only version of that. So shout out our guy Jay-Z back again with another verse. Do we have to go to the Joe Budden track? Oh, this is it, chat. Hey, yo. Shout out. This is what is also making me think that these are pre-recorded verses. Did Estate reach out to Joe Budden in 2025? Maybe they did. Joe Budden can still spit bars. I saw he dropped a track that I think is a Drake diss track because it is the Views cover. It's like Joe Budden ripping off the Views cover, and I think it's called Just Because. Do we listen to this as well, too? Let's cue this up and see. Live reaction to Just Because. Dissing our guy, chat. The Jackson 5 sample? Oh, Budden went crazy here. We might actually have to listen to this real quick. Yeah, the beat's crazy, chat. Ayo, shout out to Joe Budden. I don't know. Would this be the best beat on Views? Nah, beat's got it. This is not better than Weston Road Flows, though. It is pretty good as well, too. Let's see if we can get a little more background on this track, though. potentially. But anyways, I think that'll just about wrap up the episode. I guess shout out to our guy Herdison for I guess Ayo, the full transformation from ghoul back to. Did he make it to vampire? That's right, Ayo. That's right. He's iced out at the end of this. I forgot that he got the made it on the good side of this but. Hey, yo, you love to see it. So makes this movie much more watchable, knowing our guy is all good and well. At the end of this, but we were going to look up something about this track. Hey, yo, it is what it is. Shout out to Joe Budden, still dropping bangers in in 2025. But like I said, that'll just about do it for the live stream. We will be back, of course, Sunday. Followed along to the NFL games, whatever NBA games are on, just hanging out, having a good time. You can follow us here live on the YouTube. You can follow the podcast feeds. Of course, on the podcast feeds, the live streams get posted up there. Spotify, Apple, all of the different platforms, major platforms like that. The REMINGTOM pod is available there as well. And you can send us a message on Instagram. The DMs are open if you want to send us messages. DM us at REMINGTOM pod. And you can connect with us that way as well. Otherwise, I guess, hey, yo, if you're, like I said, got the earbuds in, the trick-or-treating, I don't know, if you're out at a bar right now, you're like, sorry, I had to sneak away, REMINGTOM pod was live, hey, yo, have a fun rest of your night, thanks for joining us, go back and hang out with your friends, it is what it is, but we will be back Sunday, hopefully still in one piece after a fun weekend, I guess. Starts tonight, Chad, with this live stream, and the party continues. Hey, yo, like I said, we'll be back. I guess this will be the bookends for Halloween weekend, even though I think Halloween weekend starts on Thursday. But it is what it is. We'll be back Sunday, hanging out, having a good time. We